The two witnesses did not refuse to appear to Parliament. They applied to the committee to be allowed to testify virtually, particularly Mr. Paul O'Sullivan. So, as a speaker, I had to apply my mind, reflect whether or not the committee has exhausted all the options and provided assurance to the witnesses that their concerns has been addressed. It's only then that the speaker can support the committee's move to the next step.
The University of Pretoria's Institute for Sustainable Malaria Control in South Africa has issued an urgent malaria alert. It says the recent flooding in the Limpopo and Mpumalanga provinces and Mozambique has created a spike in mosquito breeding habitats. The Institute's project manager, Dr. Tanishka Kruger, warns that stagnant flood waters are placing millions of people at risk, potentially reversing years of progress towards malaria elimination. The Institute is now working alongside the National Health Department to deploy vector control and intensive health promotion drives.
The University of Pretoria Institute for Sustainable Malaria Control is ready to provide research evidence, specialist guidelines, technical expertise. We advise on vector surveillance planning, how these teams working on the ground should approach the vector surveillance, which then gives important data towards the control program on how to better, look at risk, support malaria control decisions, making that urgent decisions, anything that needs to happen immediately.
Kenya, it says it will engage with Russia over the growing number of reports of its citizens being recruited to fight in Ukraine. Speaking to the BBC, Kenya's Foreign Minister Musalia Mudavadi described the practice as unacceptable.
We believe that maybe close to 200 Kenyans could be involved. But as things stand now, the government of Kenya has helped to repatriate about 27. We have also seen about 8 Kenyans who have either died or they are missing in action.
Lastly, a trial has begun in the United States that could see social media firms held responsible for the harm suffered by children who use their platforms. A Californian woman says addictive features on Instagram and YouTube led to addiction from an early age, blaming parents' companies Meta and Google for fueling her depression and suicidal thoughts. The tech firms denied their products deliberately harm children. The BBC's Lily Jamali explains.
It's pretty rare for social media companies to make it this far in any case. For years, they have successfully wielded something known as Section 230 to argue they're not responsible for what third parties post to their platforms. This case is different because it's really litigating the design choices that go into algorithms and notifications and other features that keep young users scrolling.
Now recapping on your top stories, Ethiopia is alleged to be hosting a secret camp to train thousands of fighters for the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group in neighboring Sudan. Now, for any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Sinsi.
SABC News. The African Perspective. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. On the Move with Benjamin and Palesa every weekday on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
Good morning and happy Tuesday. I'm glad that you are here joining us. We are part of one big family. That's the African family, but more importantly, the Channel Africa family. And that's why you're here right now. Thank you to the morning team, Asanda Beta and Peter Ndoro, kickstarting our morning on Africa Rise and Shine. It's now 9:06 Central Africa time, and it's time for On the Move. Lots of conversations to have today. We're going to start off on reflecting on the past to look into the future. Tomorrow, South Africa marks an anniversary, very important anniversary, the anniversary of the day that Mandela was released in 1990, released from prison, that is. And more than 3 decades later, we look at the impact that he's had on changing the lives, particularly of children living with inequality, poverty, and instability through the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund that was established by Mandela in 1996. The resource mobilization Mobilization Manager of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, will be joining us to reflect on why Mandela's release still matters today, especially when it comes to how it changed the lives of these children.
Yeah, man, we've got so much that's coming. It is a Tuesday, so we also have our In the Cubicle feature, and that's where we look at the workplace environment. We'll also be exploring practical ways to maintain accountability without overstepping as a manager. We're going to be speaking micromanagement today. So all of that is coming. Remember, stay with us on our socials at Channel Africa 1 being the handle.
Sunday morning, she won't do something, I won't go church. On a Monday morning, I won't do something, she won't go walk. I better, no move this way. I better, police, yes, police. She don't take my heart, they go. Police, police, yes, police. She don't take my heart, they go. Do you body me, my baby? If money no dey, I like you again, no, I like you again. Papa la nonsense, will you body me, my baby? If you body no dey, I like you again, no, I like you again. Papa la nonsense, Friday morning she want attention, I want do yoga. On a Friday night when I want attention, she want to roll out. I better, no move this way. I better, police, police, yeah, police. She don't thief my heart, they go. Police, police, yeah, police. She don't thief my heart, they go. You body me, my baby. If money no dey, I like you again, no, I like you again. Papa la nonsense, you body me, my baby. If you body no dey, I like you again, no, I like you again. Papa la nonsense.
I love a multi-generational collaboration. Kiz Daniel alongside Angelique Kijo and Johnny Drill on this one. Police, it's 10 minutes past 9 Central Africa time. The conversations are coming up after this.
Madapiri pazoshitika. Madapiri pazoshitika.
Madotolo oposa 1,500 amene amagwira ntchito yaulere mu zipatala zaboma mdziko la Zambia azanyanyala ntchito lachisanu sabata ya mawa ndipo Daniel Shabanda kutambasula nkhani.
Madotolo oposa 1,500 amene amagwira ntchito mopanda malipiro apamwezi dziko la Zambia akuyembekezera kuyamba kunyanyala ntchito. Ichi ndi chifukwa chakuti boma lalephera walemba ntchito monga mmene lidawalonjezera. Channel Africa News yalankhulana ndi mkulu wa bungwe la madotolo la Resident Doctors Association of Zambia, Dr. Pochiwe. Akugomeza kuti madotolo ambiri amene akugwira ntchito mu zipatala zaboma akugwira ntchito yaulere ndipo ali ndi chiyembekezo chakuti tsiku lina adzalembedwa ntchito ndi boma.
Zochitika pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo. Lolemba mpaka lachisanu ndi Madapiri. Palesa and Benjamin fuel your day with fresh African perspective on Channel Africa.
You know, these days we are so future focused, which is an amazing thing, right? We're looking at technology coming into the spaces, AI and the likes, and we keep having conversations about the future. But we may forget just how much history has an impact on today and tomorrow. And today we're looking at a very important part of South Africa's history. Tomorrow actually marks the anniversary of Nelson Mandela's release from prison in 1990, a moment often remembered for what it symbolized politically. But more than 3 decades later, the question is how that moment translates into real change today, particularly for children living with inequality, poverty, and instability, and that's a lot of children here in South Africa. The Nelson Mandela Children's Fund was established by Mandela in 1996 and has created to move these values into action by strengthening children's rights and supporting vulnerable children and families. And today we're taking a look at how the fund still approaches this 30 years later, and how, the day of his release that happens as we commemorate it tomorrow still impacts children on this day. Joining us is Neo Dube, Resource Mobilization Manager at the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. Thank you so much, Neo, for your time this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
It's a great time for reflection. That's what commemorations are for. And Nelson Mandela's release was watched across the world by millions of people. Why does that moment still resonate across the world today?
I think that moment still matters across the world today because it symbolizes hope, and that hope becoming very real. And in the South African context, it showed South Africans what is possible, even after years of pain, of division, pain of apartheid. For the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, that moment especially was significant because what it meant freedom must be meaningful, not just for adults, but for children as well. And many children were born along the 1990, and they yet still live in equality as well as exclusion. And that day continues to serve as a reminder to us that the promise of freedom still has to be answered, so that every generation has to experience that freedom, starting with the children.
Every time you saw Mandela, especially during the reign of his presidency, you would see just children kind of leaning towards him or running towards him, or him actually moving towards the children themselves. Mandela had a certain belief in children, hence the foundation exists. How does that idea translate in terms of making sure that we create that belief in children as the foundation of society?
I mean, we're making progress, but we're not fully living up to that belief. Many of the children, like I spoke earlier, are still facing poverty, violence, hunger, and the lack of protection. And at the Children's Fund, we see an increment in resilience in the children, but we also see the consequences of the systems that don't always prioritize them. And truly honoring Madiba's belief means putting children first in our policies, in our budgets, and our daily choices, and the pragmatic work that we do through sustainable livelihoods, through child safety and protection, through youth leadership. So we still are living that belief as the Children's Fund. And that journey is still a journey South Africa is on.
Here in South Africa, we call the children born post-democracy the born freeze. And, the place like the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund is a place that was created to assure that it withholds the rights of children in South Africa. Is it doing so? And are we moving towards more actual freedom rather than it just being coined a great name for post-democracy?
I think that we are still doing that. And we're doing that, like I spoke about earlier, through the different initiatives that we currently have as the children's organization. But there's still a big gap in that what we're trying to address. And that gap can only be addressed at a policy level, but it's beyond government. It falls back to you and I as citizens. How do we treat children where we live? The very children that you call yours, the children that you see on the side of the street. Do you find out what it is that they need and how can you assist them? So it's bigger than just the government interceding. It goes back to the everyday person as well.
And let's talk a little bit about that because, there can be a bit of a pessimism around the name of Nelson Mandela. I mean, it's 2026 and people are like, is Nelson Mandela still relevant? We've seen a decline of, democratization in different parts of the continent. And South Africa, we've seen also an increase when it comes to the inequality gap in the country. And you spoke about one of the biggest hard-hitting aspects for children that affects them being poverty. Reigniting that Nelson Mandela energy, do you think it's still possible? Do you think we can still find that inspiration around Nelson Mandela's name, or do you feel like there is that kind of like nostalgia around his name?
Interestingly enough, within the younger generation, we find that there is that misconception that he was a sellout, which is completely wrong. But with us, the older generation, Mawanke, as they like to refer to us, there is still that nostalgia that we still uphold the beliefs that he had as a freedom fighter, as an individual, and even all across the world as you travel and you engage with the different people still have that nostalgic feeling to say, oh, it's Nelson Mandela. But however, there is a misconception that as the Children's Fund, we're able to generate funds because we're the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, which is not entirely true. Yes, we have the name behind us, but there's still so many children whose lives need to be impacted through the very organization that he founded, because he believed in the cause, he believed in children, he believed that children were the future. And so to answer your question, it's 50-50. There is still that nostalgia with the younger generations and with the older generations, excuse me, and with the younger generations, there's this misconception, but it's a misconception that can be changed through education. If we as South Africans, or if the government introduced things like what we have similar in the US, like Black History Month, then we would be able to educate the younger generation about these struggle heroes and what they stood for and the values that they stood for in order for us to keep their legacies alive.
When I started this conversation, I spoke about the future. And when we speak about children's rights, we do focus a lot on the inequalities, which still are so big here in our country. But when it comes to assuring that children have a future in the world that we live in today, how does this Children's Fund also try and assure that there is a future for these children to be a part of?
So the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund does this through 4 different interventions. And the first intervention would be through our sustainable livelihoods, where we look after the holistic child, so where the child comes from. And what we do is we've introduced things like savings groups, so that the mother in that house or the father in that household is able to provide the food security for that child. So even after school, they're able to still get a meal. We do this through our child safety and protection program, where we raise awareness around things like bullying, things like girl power. The girl child is important, but as equally as important, the boy child is also important. So through the advocacy work that we do in that program, and we also do this through youth leadership. I know the unemployment rate currently in South Africa is ridiculously high. And we have this wonderful program at the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund called Ifeng Bacha, directly or loosely translated means give it to the youth. And there we empower the youth to become entrepreneurs and scale up the work that they do. But we also do it through advocacy at the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund and Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament, which is based in Cape Town. And we also look after the mother when she's pregnant through the Child Safety, the Child Survival, Development and Thriving program that takes care of the mother from when she's pregnant to 1,000 days after the baby's born, to ensure that the cognitive is fully developed, so that when they go to school, they're able to grasp that information. So we do this through multiple interventions. And because we're turning 30, what we're looking for into the next 30 years is how can we integrate these 4 programs into one area so that we can really see the impact through an integrated approach. And that's what we will continue to do for the next 30 years.
All right, now stay there on the line. We'll continue the conversation. We know we're living in a time where funding is very difficult, right? In the last few years post-COVID-19, it's been many challenges for multiple NGOs, and we'll speak about that environment. And you said something very startling earlier on, saying people think that because the foundation is under the Nelson Mandela banner, that it's so easy to be getting money and getting support. We'll speak about the environment there, and very, very important conversation indeed as we reflect back on the 30 years since Nelson Mandela was released from prison in 1990. sometimes we take it for granted that there was that man who actually made that sacrifice that many of us couldn't make, right? And here we are in a free South Africa.
Channel Africa is evolving, and so are you. Stay connected wherever you are with our brand new website and mobile app. Stream your favorite shows, catch up on African news, culture, and conversations, all at your fingertips.
Africa is just a tap away.
Your world, your stories, now on the go.
Stay connected wherever you are.
Visit channelafrica.co.za or download the Channel Africa app today. Channel Africa, the African perspective. 9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Hey, it's so easy to forget the stature of a man who made so many sacrifices, but a man who wasn't a symbol of just himself, but a huge collective. And I think sometimes as Africans, as we're enjoying our modern freedoms, it's very easy for us to put labels on those who created an environment where we do have the freedoms that we have today. Today we're looking at tomorrow, South Africa marking the anniversary of Nelson Mandela's release from prison in 1990, 36 years ago to be more accurate. And then 30 years ago, there was the establishment of the Nelson Mandela's Children's Fund. We're speaking to Neo Dube, Resource Mobilization Manager at Nelson Mandela's Children's Fund, to speak about the organization, but also there's another 30 years that we hope the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund will exist for. But we live in very conservative funding environments post-COVID-19, and that's something that I'd love to explore with you, Neo, because that was alarming for me when you said, you know what, people think just generally we'll just get funding easily because we are the Nelson Mandela's Children's Fund. Tell us a little bit more about that, because in the last few years, post-COVID-19, funding hasn't been easy to come by.
Yes, post-COVID-19 has been incredibly difficult, if I'm being completely honest with you, to raise funds, especially as a Nelson Mandela legacy organization, simply because of that narrative. But what we have chosen to do as the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund is diversify that portfolio. And what we've introduced is an everyday person like you and I. And what we have, and one of the interventions that we have to raise funds is called face-to-face fundraising. And you might have seen them already, but if you go to the different malls, we have these wonderful faces that are standing there, signing up ordinary people to donate as little as 67 Rand to help with the cause-related work that we do as an organization. So if you keep track of our social media and pages, our handle is NMCF_SA. You will see that the different faces are moving through the different malls. And if they happen to be at your closest mall, you can just quickly go there and sign up to become a regular donor. And with you becoming a regular donor, what that will help do for us, it will help project in terms of funding and where that funding can go in terms of the developmental work that we do. So that 67 Rand could ensure that a child is vaccinated today, or it could ensure that we're able to start another savings group in a different community so that the mothers and the children of that community are empowered. But we also have some events that we do. And one of those events is happening on the 12th of March. This is an anniversary celebration for the Children's Fund, but we're also going to use that as an opportunity to speak about the work and the impact that we've done in the past 30 years and the legacy of the organization. But at the same time, use it as an opportunity for people to recommit and pledge to the work of the Children's Fund by donating, any amount of money that they can, just so that we ensure that this legacy is able to still be sustainable and continue to live beyond the 30 years that it has already. So there's multiple interventions of funding that we currently have. And during Mandela Month, we also have what we call a Mandela-thon. Maybe this year, Channel Africa could participate in that Mandela-thon, where we really galvanize different corporates, different companies to run a competition within themselves, to fundraise for the cause of the Children's Fund, but obviously also for the legacy of Nelson Mandela by donating as little as 67 Rand during that month. So it's really a diverse portfolio, and that's how we've sustained ourselves this far, and that is how we will continue to sustain ourselves well into the future. But we also need to look at innovative ways in which we can do that. And so we're looking at other things like innovative finance, just to remove ourselves from the traditional fundraising ways that we currently have been using. So you could participate if possible.
And as we wrap up now, it's been 30 years of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. What does the next 30 years demand in safeguarding children's dignity and futures?
Well, because children today are facing multiple pressures, including violence, poverty, and food security, mental health challenges, and limited access to quality service. What it looks like for the next 30 years is addressing the violence in community, the violence against children, because what the statistics tell us is that those numbers are quite high. But as much as those numbers are quite high, we're also faced with another challenge, which is food security in the sense of poverty. So what we're going to be doing is, like I spoke about earlier, integrating the 4 programs that we currently have as the Children's Fund into 4 different communities, just to see if that impact would be more impactful for the children. And for us, tracking a child from when they as young as 1 month through all the way till they are a youth. And that's what it's going to look like in practicality for us. It's an exciting time. We are still going to be the legacy in action, and we look forward to the change and the lives that we're going to impact in the next 30 years. But we can only do it, like I said, with the support of you and me.
All right, now, thank you so much for just having this conversation. We can easily forget there are institutions such as yours that are doing such wonderful work. And to keep that legacy alive is also an important heritage for us as South Africa. Tell us where we can go to find out more about the Nelson Mandela's Children's Fund. Maybe you want to get involved.
Yes, of course. So we are on all social media platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and did I mention Instagram? Yes, I did. And
Yes.
Twitter. So our name is NMCF_SA. We also do have a website where you can find out more about the work that we do. The name of the website is www.nelsonmandelachildrensfund.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Nell. It was a great start to today to chat to you for our show. Thank you for joining us here on Channel Africa.
Thank you for having me.
That's Nell Dube, Resource Mobilization Manager at the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. Hey, do you think we forget our heroes? And do you think sometimes we forget the things that they stood for? I know there's a lot of legacy projects at times in different countries, and they get forgotten, they get discarded. What's your take on that? Let us know on our social media platforms at Channel Africa 1. You can find us everywhere. Let's move on right now. It's 9:30 Central African Time. Let's get our sport.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
All right, so it's a very good morning from the sports desk. I am Musibu Dimakura with your latest sports news this hour. So Pakistan have confirmed they will play their T20 World Cup clash against India this coming Sunday, ending a proposed boycott of the fixture. So Bangladesh were removed from this year's tournament after refusing to tour India due to political tensions as well as security concerns, with Scotland drafted in at the last minute. Now, Pakistan Cricket Board Chairman Mohsin Naqvi had previously warned the national side could pull out completely after the government initially directed the team to boycott the February 15th match. So the Cricket Board of Pakistan have now confirmed the high-profile encounter will go ahead as scheduled. We'll stay with cricket news, but back home, former South African youth international Kala Renaker has detailed the raw feelings she experienced when she got the call to be part of the Proteas women for the very first time. Now, the former under-19 captain was included in the team to play 3 T20 internationals against Pakistan, with the first match taking place today in Potchefstroom in the country's northwest province, and will be hoping to make an immediate impact with the World Cup coming up in June of this year. Now, the 20-year-old recalled the exact moment she got the call from coach Mandla Mashimbi.
I actually got the call from Coach Mandla. I was just waking up from an afternoon nap, but and then this random phone number called me, and I was like, hello, who's this? And then it was Coach Mandla, but very excited to get going, and amazing opportunity to play with your role models, hopefully taking the field with them. But growing up, it's been like people that I'm looking up to and watching from the side of the field, and it's just a massive privilege and honour to wear this badge.
Back on the continent now, the Confederation of African Football Executive Committee members will descend on East Africa ahead of the CAF Executive Committee meeting this coming Friday in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Now, the CAF Executive Committee meeting will be chaired by CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe, and the meeting will then be followed by a press conference at the Hyatt Regency in Dar es Salaam, which will be streamed live on the CAF TV. Now, the CAF EXO in Tanzania will deliberate on a number of matters. It's also significant milestone in the countdown to the East Africa hosting the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda in 2027. Emma Raducanu, meanwhile, retired with her first round match against Camila Osorio at the Qatar Open 2 days after she lost in the final of the Transylvania Open. Now, the British number 1 called for a trainer out to have her blood pressure taken after being broken at the start of the third set, and after going down 2-love in the decider to Colombia's Osorio, she forfeited the match. Raducanu had won the first set 6-2 before conceding the second 6-4. On Saturday, the 23-year-old featured in her first final since her 2021 US Open triumph, but was then beaten in little more than an hour by Sarona Cristia at the Transylvania Open. Raducanu also had her blood pressure taken in that final match, and afterwards revealed her fitness had been affected because she was battling a bit of a chest infection. And finally, in motorsports news, world champions McLaren have unveiled the livery they will race with the 2026 Formula One season as they defend their titles. Now, the colour scheme was launched on the MCL 40 in Bahrain on the eve of the pre-season testing, which begins on Wednesday. Now, while the car itself is an all-new challenger built for Formula One's new regulation era, the team has opted to retain its trademark look. So after running a one-off dark livery at last month's Barcelona shakedown, McLaren's return to their familiar Papa design, now entering its 9th campaign as the team's predominant colour. On that note, to conclude your first sporting update this morning with On The Move team. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, do send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Alternatively, call us on +27 11714 4459. So the time has just gone 9:35 a.m. Central African time. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet. Channel 628.
Let's just do it.
Your life just got easier. Get the Channel Africa app and take us wherever you go. Catch the latest news, enjoy your favorite shows, stream the music you love, and stay connected to the continent. All in one spot, right in your pocket. Simple, quick, and always with you. The Channel Africa app. Download it now on iOS and Android.
Thank you, Mr. Budi Makura. Let's move on and get our latest business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. the African perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning. Ghana's Securities and Exchange Commission has instructed local fund managers to scale back their offshore investments as part of efforts to support the cedi and strengthen macroeconomic stability. Under a new SEC circular, fund managers will now be permitted to invest a maximum of 20% of their assets under management in foreign securities. Funds that were previously allowed to invest all their money offshore will now be limited to 70%. The move forms part of a broader financial sector reforms tied to Ghana's 3-year IMF-supported program, which is aimed at stabilizing the economy. Ghanaian economist George Antwi Buasiako elaborates on the policy.
We are using this policy to ensure that we actually stabilize our macroeconomy. So having that in mind, an investor know that if you want to invest in Ghana, they have a stable economy, their currency is stable, their interest rate is stable, and things like that. So the long-term impact is what we are looking at. Even in the short term, we want to ensure that we don't repatriate all our forex to the outside Ghana, which is not a very good practice.
In North Africa, Egypt has announced plans for a new $1 billion harbour, hotel and housing development in the Red Sea. This is in a bid to boost the region's tourist industry. Ahmed Shalabi, managing director of the main developer, says the construction of the Monte Galala Towers and Marina project will start in the second half of the year and run for 7 years. The 10-tower development is a partnership with the Housing Ministry and other state bodies, including the Armed Forces Engineering Authority. Mozambican Minerals and Energy Minister Estevão Pale says the government is doing everything that is required to make sure that South 32's Mosal aluminium smelter stays open. Pale was speaking to reporters on the sidelines of the African Mining Indaba in Cape Town, South Africa. In December, Australia's South 32 said it will place the Mosal plant under care and maintenance by March, incurring a $60 million one-off cost after failing to secure a power deal with the government. The company has been in protracted negotiations with the Southern African country's government and power suppliers for years to reach an agreement for the smelter's energy-intensive operations. Meanwhile, chair of the advisory board for investing in African mining Indaba, Frans Baleni, says the continent's mining sector should be a pillar for growth and a foundation for global stability. Baleni says this will help Africa navigate global geopolitical tensions.
As we gather this week as a continent and as a nation that has successfully hosted a global forum such as G20 Summit, we demonstrated our capability for collaboration. Mining as one of our most strategic sectors must now rise to the same level of influence, driving not only economic growth, but also sustainable development across borders.
U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to block the opening of a $4.7 billion bridge linking Canada and the United States. Trump suggested the U.S. should own half of the Gord Howe International Bridge, and then in January, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security published a rule declaring the bridge to be an official port of entry, adding that it will save $12.7 million annually for travelers by reducing congestions and travel time while easing traffic flows. The BBC's Gabrielle Sunglaiti has the details.
In a lengthy social media post, Mr. Trump accused Canada of taking advantage of America. The bridge, which will connect Ontario and Michigan, has been entirely funded by the Canadian government. But Mr. Trump said he wouldn't allow it to open until, in his words, the US had been fully compensated for everything Washington had given to Canada. It isn't clear what that means. The president criticized a range of Canadian trading practices as well as Prime Minister Mark Carney's recent trip to Beijing. Mr. Trump again warned him against finalizing a trade deal with China.
Morning financial indicators. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 366 and Botswana 13 pula 10, Kenya 128 shilling 45, Zambia 18 kwacha 64. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 21, Russia 76 rubles 91, India 90 rupee 66, China 6 yuan 93, South Africa 16 rand 3 cents. $1 is 73 pence to the British pound, 84 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is at $5,034, platinum at $2,086 per ounce, the price of Brent crude oil at $69.07 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. The Morning Switch Weekend with the Shy Guy.
I Show Speed, often called Speed, who is a popular American YouTuber and live streamer known for his high-energy personality, loud reactions, and unpredictable humor. He visited Ethiopia, and he was shocked what he found out actually when he got to Ethiopia. He got to find out that, they don't use the Gregorian calendar. That is, we are in 2026 right now. And he got to find out they are in 2018.
2018? 2018. Nah, you trolling me. It's 2026. No. It ain't 2026. Wait, no. Wait, we in the past? Ronaldo is still in Real Madrid. Everything is in the past here.
Oh man, how shocked Speed was. He went back in time.
Saturday and Sunday mornings belong to the Morning Switch. 3 to 6 a.m. Central African Time.
Ritmos e cultura. Com Jacob Tivani.
E os ouvintes do Ritmos e Cultura, hoje em linha com uma das grandezas da música moçambicana, porque não? Ele que é um dos kings da marrabenta, uma bermuda in the building.
É um prazer enorme estar a fazer parte deste programa. Deixe-me só saudar. Boa tarde a todos os ouvintes que me ouvem neste preciso momento. Meu nome é uma bermuda, de Alau Fanelo Estarapo, gajo de água da Fanhela é Mabiscato. Eu vou saudar de uma maneira diferente. Ah, titavuya mwanango, tiduma tifika giane. Ah, titavuya mwanango, tiduma tifika giane. Ani motive lo ababa yena otiva mina haikonama. Ani motive lo anona yena otiva wahimbo watwa. Cá estou eu, irmão, para conversarmos, para falarmos um pouco de tudo. Estou aqui, estou aberto. Eu estou muito feliz porque é a primeira vez que eu falo nesta rádio, falo para os ouvintes, então estou muito feliz.
Ritmos e cultura com Jacob Tivani. Todos os domingos, das 20 às 21 horas.
Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa.
Ang popa mutimo, ang power high moya, oh halalela. Ang tumale fatsing lena, kamorero le sepeo. Pamponsatsela, pantataisa, pangsupisa, monetelinteng, parehona, otlafisha, moyanteng, parna, lina. ke ne ke sa tsebe hore mona ke lefatsheng masisapelo a hlasela o sa lebella ke ne ke sa tsebe hore mona ke lebaleng la ntwa le hlolang fela ke leruma la moya ho fumana pholoso ke ho latela la haeletswe le reng ke nna tsela le nnete le bophelo mefokolong ya ka o mpha matla mohawa wa ntatela lefifing ke na kganya ere le nna ke tla fihla mo ke yang teng le nna ke lo fihla mo ke yang teng le nna ke lo fihla mo ke yang teng le nna
It's the incredible voice of Malek Itlofihla is the name of this one. And we're speaking about, reflecting back on the day that Nelson Mandela was released in 1990. I wasn't there. I was only a year old. In fact, I was less than a year old if it was, February 1990, because I was born in 1989. And so I'm sure a lot of people who were there, were old enough to experience what was going on that day, can still feel the tingles of what was actually going on and, just how incredible that particular moment was. But we always say we can't live in the past, right? We have to live in the future. But if people of the past made the right decisions or made decisions that enabled us to focus on what's important, like the children of this country, like human rights, because human rights is, all our rights, it's important that we do reflect and see just how much things have changed over time.
Yeah, I think that we're just plagued by a type of forgetfulness around where we come from, the things that we've endured as African countries. And also we use our heroes as kind of plasters of our inadequacies, right? And we just use them as our selling points. But generally, are we living the lives of those who just created the legacy that we feel like that we're in? And if you just look at it, is it good enough? Are we living to that standard of what was fought for?
Yeah, and also, I think it's important to remember, like you said, right, we use these figures, these people, and we idolize the work that they've done. But what they were doing is just saying, hey, this is what's important. And because you idolize me, then you should be a part of the change that's necessary. So it's not just about reflecting on what Mandela himself did. It's about looking at his messages and what he stood for. And if we stand for the same thing, what are we doing today to protect those legacies? What are we doing for children and protecting their rights? What are we doing in our societies as individuals to uphold that we think is so important from the past?
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think that we've forgotten our heroes of the continent, our heroines of the continent? Let us know on our WhatsApp number, +2783 288 6684. We're reflecting on this big occasion tomorrow when Nelson Mandela was released from prison. It was a big day, wasn't it? So many of us were watching our television screens. I remember I was a little bit around 6 years at that time, and it meant a lot to me. My parents kind of conscientized me around it. Come, Nelson Mandela is being released, and we were kind of all huddling up around that TV screen. But hey, is that remembrance enough? Do you think that we are honoring those heroes of the African continent? That WhatsApp number again, +27 83 288 6684.
Este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África, com Remo Samo e João Yabalá.
A situação do ativista angolano Serrote José de Oliveira, preso desde julho, tem gerado grande preocupação internacional. Conhecido como General Nila e presidente do movimento União Nacional para a Total Revolução de Angola, Serrote iniciou uma greve de fome em protesto contra a sua prisão, que considera arbitrária. De acordo com a Amnistia Internacional, o estado de saúde do ativista está a deteriorar-se rapidamente devido à falta de acesso a cuidados médicos adequados. Para discutir o impacto deste caso e o estado da liberdade política em Angola, vamos conversar com Dito Dale, ativista e defensor dos direitos humanos.
Nós estamos diante de uma clara estratégia de aniquilar o jovem, porque quando uma pessoa está doente, deve ser assistido. Ao não proporcionar esses cuidados médicos, o que é que o regime quer? Não quer que esse jovem saia livre e com vida da prisão, quer matá-lo.
De segunda a sexta-feira, das 20 às 21 horas locais, este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África.
The Upside, taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
From Channel Africa, about to have ourselves a good time right now. One Twara.
Come on, brother.
It's a whole thing.
You've partnered up with Focalistic, based on a true story.
You know, it's actually crazy for you to put it like that, partnered up. You know, this is someone I look up to from a very long time. 3 years ago, we put out a single, Pele Pele.
Yeah.
You know, that was my first record with him. This project, based on a true story, the album was so highly anticipated and premeditated on our end, you know, because it's something we constantly, you know, kept on going back and forth about, but we never actioned it. It's actually quite crazy because all of this is happening whilst we are both working on our albums. You know, I'm working on my album 31314 because there's a record, 31314, the interlude. So it's like a prelude to the album, you know.
Let me pronounce it properly. Is it 31314?
31314.
Oh, 31314.
The Upside, live and real. It's dynamic, no interruptions, just the music you love on Channel Africa.
Shaking them off faster. Shaking keep it so cute. Shaking them off faster. Namotilo, Jo Walese, Namotilo, Jo Walese. Shaking keep it so cute. Shaking them off faster. Shaking keep it so cute. Shaking them off faster. Oh no 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 no. They go from my country, you don't follow, people don't go low, and Jisuru. No easy, no money, you, no life to you. But I'm call, you know the flow. If you vex you, then go come up, then go call me you. Carry you go. Never tell me oh shama. I never tell you me oh shama, lama. I never tell me oh shama. I never tell you me oh shama. Shaking bass so cute, shaking them off faster. Shaking keep it so cute, shaking them off faster. Namotilo, Jo Walese, Namotilo, Jo Walese. Shaking keep it so cute, shaking them off faster. Shaking keep it so cute, shaking them off faster. Oh no 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 no. Oh no no no. Original, that's you. Oh yeah, get more original. Oh wọlé o. Anapa tell you mi ò ṣọmọ. Anapa tell you never tell you mi ò ṣọmọ lọ́mọ. Anapa tell you mi ò ṣọmọ. Anapa tell you never tell you mi ò ṣọmọ lọ́mọ. Kígbe sókè, dẹ́mọ̀ bàṣà. Kígbe sókè, dẹ́mọ̀ bàṣà. Kígbe sókè, dẹ́mọ̀ bàṣà.
It's Burna Boy with Soke here on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Looking into the next hour of the show as we wrap up this one, we are going back in the cubicle. That's our workplace feature that we look at various things that happen in the world of work. And today is one that I'm sure annoys many an employee. Micromanaging. Oh, nobody really likes being micromanaged. And today we're looking at that because there is a particular reason why some managers feel like there's a need to micromanage. Some of it is, with good reason, and others is just, maybe a need to change your management style. But we're going to be looking at that, right? And particularly how we can, leaders in particular can maintain that accountability, because that's what micromanagement is about, right? They want you to be accountable. They want to see how far you're doing every step of the way. So how do you maintain that accountability in that workplace without overstepping and micromanaging the people who work under you?
Yeah, I think the people under you can sometimes be the problem.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they say it's micromanagement, where it's just accountability, right?
Right.
So what is the real micromanagement? Because whenever we're held to account by leaders in the workplace, we always tend to say, this one is a micromanager. It's, it's a bit too much. Is it really true? Do we really know what a micromanager is in the first place?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I just think we don't want to take that accountability.
Yeah. So when is it micromanaging and when is it not? How do we tell the difference, and how do we adjust the workplace where everyone works, in unison, but accountability is always taking place? And if you feel like you have been micromanaged or you are currently being micromanaged, let's hear from you. Also, especially if you're a leader yourself or a manager and you're like, people always say I'm micromanaging, but if I don't do these particular things, we never meet deadlines. +27 83 288 6684. That is our WhatsApp line. Hopefully you have it saved on your phone already, but if not, I'll say it one more time. +27 83 288 6684.
Yeah, we also have an interesting conversation coming up in our third hour as we speak money in our Money Matters feature. We're going to be looking at this one. It's Valentine's month. Just in a few days, we'll have Valentine's Day. When's Valentine's Day?
On Saturday.
On Saturday?
Yes.
What's the day?
14th of February.
Oh, okay, the 14th of February. Those who do celebrate the day, remember the day, unlike me. We're going to be talking about finances in a relationships because sometimes we don't have those honest conversations about money as a couple. Valentine's Day is coming up. We'll speak about financial future planning. What does it mean? Caitlin Moretti is back, head of training at Centonomy, to help us on that one. Money in a relationship. I think it causes trouble, right, when you don't talk about it. But even when you do and you are transparent, like, money behaviors are different between two partners. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how you actually have that openness when it comes to money in a relationship.
Because there's so many expectations now that Valentine's is coming, right? And people have started setting the standards of their lives according to the standards of others on social media. So everyone wants that bouquet of flowers. Maybe they want a nice dinner out. And maybe you and your partner are like, hey, why can't we just do something in the house? Like, oh, you're so stingy. And gifts, do we buy gifts? Do we not buy gifts? How is your money looking this Valentine's Day? Can you afford this Valentine's capitalism that takes place every year?
And can you say, no, we're not doing it today. We're not doing this year. The money situation is not that great. What comes out of that? Is it a conversation that you're willing to also have? But Kathleen will help us on that one a little bit later on. It's 1000 hours Central African time. This is Channel Africa. Let's get our news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, Ethiopia alleges to be hosting a secret camp to train thousands of fighters for the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer refuses to resign. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. Ethiopia is hosting a secret camp to train thousands of fighters for the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group in neighboring Sudan. The camp constitutes the first direct evidence of Ethiopia's involvement in Sudan's civil war, marking a potentially dangerous development that provides the RSF a substantial supply of fresh soldiers as fighting escalates in Sudan's south. Sudan's civil war erupted in 2023 after a power struggle between the Sudanese armed forces and the RSF ahead of a planned transition to civilian rule. Sudan's army has previously accused the UAE of supplying the RSF with weapons, a claim UN experts and US lawmakers have found credible. South Africa has made no progress in combating corruption in the past 3 years. This is according to anti-corruption movement Transparency International's 2025 Corruption Perceptions Index released today. The index found worsening corruption and a decline in leadership globally, with South Africa stagnating with a score of 41, which is the same than last year. The score is still below the global average of 42. The index measures levels of public sector corruption in 182 countries and territories on a scale of 0, indicating highly corrupt, to 100, which is very clean. Political analyst Good Enough Mashego in South Africa says he anticipates that independent forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan's testimony before Parliament's ad hoc committee today will be a waste of time. O'Sullivan had earlier requested to appear virtually, citing security concerns. He will be questioned on allegations that he impersonated an official from the police watchdog IPID and that he was part of a task team that plotted against the former police commissioner Mashego says O'Sullivan is likely to be vague in his responses to the committee.
I don't even think today's inquisition is going to take off, given the character of Paul O'Sullivan. First of all, when you appear before any committee that has been established to investigate something, you cannot lay the conditions to say I'm going to appear on condition that these other political parties are not going to ask questions from me, and also that condition of saying you wanted to appear at the South African embassy instead of appearing where everyone else is appearing. So I think we are likely to have the situation like that of Robert McBride, whereby somebody refuses to give a lot of information about themselves. And if parliamentarians are going to bend backward to accommodate Paul O'Sullivan, it's going to be a waste of time, because at the end of the day, he's going to select the questions he's going to answer, and we are not going to get a clear picture about the allegations made about him.
Civil movement March and March has again called on the South African government to declare illegal immigration in the country a state of emergency. The movement has raised concern over the infiltration of illegal miners, commonly known as zamazamas, in various communities, endangering the lives of residents. Last month, about 500 residents from the Sporong informal settlement in Kagiso, west of Johannesburg, fled their homes following intimidation from the zamazamas. The movement's founder, Jacinda Ngobese Zuma, says they want President Cyril Ramaphosa to deploy the army to assist police in the removal of illegal foreigners from communities and the country.
A state of emergency can be declared if a country is being invaded. And we do believe that the influx of illegal immigrants is what we can term an invasion. So the law does support that, and the president can deploy the SANDF. And we thought this would be very important for places that have been taken over by the Zamazamas and all these other places and towns that have been taken over by illegal immigrants, where we can see that the police are clearly not managing to deal with the situation.
Lastly, the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has told his Labour Party MPs that he will not resign despite calls from the party's Scottish leader. Concern has been growing within the party over his judgment to appoint Peter Mandelson, a former friend of Epstein, as Britain's ambassador to Washington. The BBC's Chris Mason.
The Prime Minister has had a political near-death experience and survived, for now at least. At various points, he looked like he might be done for, and imminently. If the Scottish Labour leader Anas Sarwar's desire to dislodge Sir Keir Starmer had had public accomplices, that could have been it. Of course, missives of loyalty from Cabinet Ministers towards the Prime Minister shouldn't be newsworthy. They only become so when the opposite seems feasible. This has been a deeply wounding week for Sir Keir, and he is weaker for it.
Recapping on your top stories, Ethiopia is alleged to be hosting a secret camp to train thousands of fighters for the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group in neighboring Sudan. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Sinsi.
SABC News. The African Perspective. Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go. On the Move with Benjamin and Palesa every weekday on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
Hey, it's the Tuesday edition of On the Move, and we have our In the Cubicle feature. That's what's coming up right here on Channel Africa. We're going to be speaking about micromanagement. Is it what we think it is, or do employers take it overboard, or do employees are the ones who are like, nah, leave me alone, you're a micromanager, you know? Just that trash talk a little bit can be in the workplace. We'll be speaking to our friend here on the show on that one. It's going to be a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Join us at Channel Africa 1. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube. And of course, our WhatsApp line where you can have your say. Have you been micromanaged? Are you a micromanaging manager as well? +27 83 288 6684. We'd love to hear from you.
So many things I don't know. I don't smoke, but I could have really rolled one. I know they fake, keep it 100. True to myself, never fear no one. Only Jaja, now my companion. I focus and I stack my money up. Money to stop all nonsense. No come form on me. Cause I know be your mate. And it be glad to see the level they too loud. No fit to handle me. And then my eye know they like sitting way good. Nobody love you like you do, that's why. And I sit for the pain. Never go be there, never go be there, never go be the same. And I sit for the pain. You never go be there, never go be there, never go be the same. Yeah. I've been getting lost in a bottle, drowning out the pain till tomorrow. We shed a couple tears for the ones that we lost on the way. Say a prayer for the ones who remain. Cause when life cuts, it cuts you deep. You try but you still can't sleep. You right wrongs, you don't get even. The damage is slowly starts to fade. We start again. Only wise men will eyes dry over. So if you show me love, me, I go show you love. If you there for me, no say I there for you. Me, I there protect my energy. Good vibes, only thing I need. Don't come the form on me. Cause I know be your mate. And you be glad to see the level they too loud. No fit to handle me. And then my eye know they like sitting way good. Nobody love you like you do, that's why. Energy for the pain. You never gon' be there, never gon' be there, never gon' be the shame. Energy for the pain. You never gon' be there, never gon' be there, never gon' be the same.
This is King Promise with Tom Walker. Eyes dried over. It's 10 minutes past 10 Central Africa time. Micromanagement is the conversation we're having after this.
Across Africa, communities rise with the promise of clean water and clean sanitation. The African Union's 2026 theme calls us to action.
It's about mobilizing real commitments, securing climate-resilient water and sanitation projects, and ensuring that water becomes a driver of sustainable development and prosperity across the continent.
A landmark moment, not only for Africa, but for the global movement for access to safe water for all.
Assuring sustainable water availability for every home, every village, every nation. This is the Africa we want.
Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Step into the heart of the day on the move with Palesa and Benjamin.
It's Tuesday, so in the cubicle is where we're going to be talking workplace and how we navigate our work and our careers. We're speaking micromanagement today. It remains one of the most common spoken about things in the workplaces. Managers often say, you know what, we are justifying accountability or careful oversight, but in practice, is this something that can have serious consequences? Employees can feel excessively monitored, may experience stress, frustration, and loss of motivation, while teams can struggle with reduced productivity and higher turnover. It also can arise from a combination of pressure to deliver results, fear of mistakes, or a lack of trust in employees' abilities. We look at why micromanagement persists across different workplaces. Is it important? Or maybe we misunderstanding what micromanagement is in different ways, and how does it affect both employees and organizational culture, and what a healthy balance looks like. Boniwe is with us. Boniwe Dunster, now a friend of the show, human resources specialist. Boniwe, welcome back on the show.
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners, and thank you for having me on this Tuesday.
Yeah, you know, I was just saying, micromanagement from a particular perspective can be seen as something that this one was cool, man. Hey, this one must just give us a break, right? Because I think we misunderstand what micromanagement actually means. Because I personally think micromanagement has its place and moment in the workplace. It's not such a bad thing as we make it up to be. So can you tell us, what is micromanagement?
I think micromanagement is when we have a situation whereby the line manager is over controlling when it comes to deliverables that sits within his or her scope of work, right? And I'm saying over controlling because you do not allow people or give them enough time to execute on their deliverables and have the opportunity to deliver and to check on them and to give feedback. So by micromanagement, you want somebody to account for every minute, every second, what they're doing and how they're doing it. And to a certain extent, that can also be disempowering for the people, because it means that you don't trust me to do what I'm expected to do. You don't believe in my capabilities. And it also goes far as, checking menial tasks, small things that you think that a consultant, a practitioner, or a specialist can actually do. You spoke about that micromanagement has its place in the workplace. So it's really about accountability. And I think when you're saying it has its place, it's really around, holding people accountable to what they are expected to deliver on. And why do I talk about accountability? Because we need to create a space whereby people understand what their roles are, what is expected of them. And this is when we talk about KPIs, which is key performance indicators or key performance, actions. What is it that I'm supposed to do? What are my objectives? How am I supposed to be delivering the quality that I'm supposed to deliver on? And that is accountability. And, and I think this is where you are saying maybe micromanagement has a place, but I think for me, what has a place is accountability. When people don't deliver, then you start holding them accountable. Then you start following up. Then you start putting, actions in place to hold them accountable. When performance is there, or there's poor performance, or there's lack of delivery, then you start talking about, putting people in, poor performance improvement process, right? Where you will then have to, diligently stay close to the deliverables within the space of somebody. But micromanagement in its totality is just the overbearing and, the over controlling. And also it's an action that can, to a certain extent, disempower people in believing in themselves.
Yeah. Now that we know what micromanagement is, let's speak about what it isn't. Because I hear, Benjamin, right? Sometimes employees do like to complain about a certain management style. And a lot of managers have their own style. And one would say, yeah, I hear the people who work under me are always complaining and saying that I'm micromanaging them. But I've tried the other management style. I've tried to let them don't do what they're qualified and they're here to do. But every time I do that, we're not reaching those KPIs. We're not reaching those levels of accountability that are necessary, and the job is not being done. So what do I do as a manager? I don't want to be a micromanager. I don't want to be called and associated with being a micromanager. But when I relax a little bit, things aren't getting done.
Sure. And it goes back to what I said about KPIs, key performance indicators or performance objectives, and also accountability. Accountability is not micromanagement. Having to give an employee or a team deliverables, and you actually want to check on the status thereof in terms of the progress, that is not micromanagement. That is you trying to check and to keep in track that as a manager, you are able to deliver on the set time, whether by EXCO or by MENCO or whoever your seniors are. So you will actually, in between deliverables, check up on your team. And sometimes you know that a project might be quite complex. So you will check up on your team to find out, how are you guys doing? Do you still have the right resources? Do you need any kind of support? Or can I see how far you are with this particular work, to give myself as a line manager that level of comfort that something has been done? Because another thing, if you are a manager, you give people work, and over time, you don't actually look at it, and today is the due date, and they give you the work, and the work is that of poor quality, or the work is of that nature that you can't be able to present it or submit it where it's supposed to be submitted, then it means as a manager, you haven't done your job of oversight, right? Of holding people accountable, of having to, keep track on the progress of the deliverables. So asking for regular updates, it's not accountable. Delegating some of the work, having to redirect or redistribute the work, within your various team members, that is also not micromanagement. Also, having to set clear expectation to say, this is what I need or what is required. This is the quality that we require. This is the time when this thing is needed.
Sure.
That is not micromanagement. It's called planning, right? And also in that sense, as a manager, you can even ask the team, are the timelines reasonable? Are the resources, enough? Is there anything that you need from me as your line manager to enable you? Because my job as a line manager is to make sure that I clear all the stumbling blocks for you to be able to deliver effectively, right? And also the last one, which is not micromanagement, it's when people are misbehaving in the workplace, right? They do things incorrectly. They take, shortcuts. They break the rules to do their job, which we will term as misconduct. When your boss comes and actually holds you accountable to that misconduct, or they discipline you for that misconduct, that should not be deemed as, as micromanagement, as employees would tend to want to term that.
Yeah, I love the fact that you created that distinction, Boniwe, because I think it's important that we start the conversation. And let's go back to this micromanagement idea. How do you know as a leader, because it feels like it's a very tricky dance that you have to make. You have to be there, but you also have to trust the people under you that, you know what, they are able and capable to do the work that's given to them. How do you avoid micromanagement as a leader?
What's important for us that we need to acknowledge is that trusting people to deliver independently, it's something that happens over time. I think we need to be honest with that. Trust is built over time. Where we say managers are not micromanaging and they trust their team to deliver, it's because as a collective and as a team, they have been through a journey, right? That will actually then get them there. There are 4 stages, and I hope I can remember them correctly. There are 4 stages into team development. I think it's forming, when the team comes together. It's storming, when there's different characters, disagreements. We don't like this manager, the manager doesn't like the people. So that is storming. And then that is norming. Norming is when things, start settling down and people start understanding each other better and also accepting that we are a team and this is what it is and we need to make it work. And the last one is it's performing, right? And then performance comes as a result of all these other 3 stages, which is the team formation stages, right? So when we get to performing, it's because we have been through all these storming, and the normings, where we've been disagreeing, whereby there's been personality clashes, where we don't understand each other. So once we have passed that kind of friction, as a team, we get into a point of knowing each other better, understanding each other's strength, knowing when to ask for support, knowing as a manager when to pull people into certain things, pull them out of certain things, right? So we get there through that. So we get to a stage of allowing people to deliver on their own independently, because we've been through those stages, because we have built the trust, because we have demonstrated that we are committed, to this team. And the results have also shown, that this person can be able to deliver. I can trust this person with small tasks. I can trust them with big, with big tasks. And as a manager, I'm in a position to also give feedback to my people. And this feedback is received positively, what we call constructive, criticism. Right. And also you as a manager being open to hearing your team when they say, but we don't actually appreciate how you do things. We don't appreciate your tone. We don't appreciate how you follow up. We don't appreciate you giving us things on the last minute. That actually puts us under pressure and compromises the quality. So that happens when we actually have reached the performance stage as a team, and then trust is built, and then accountability is built, and then people, can deliver individually without somebody else following up, because we have built that trust that everybody knows what they have to do, and then they will deliver to the best of their ability.
All right, Bonnie, we're going to go for a break. And, with micromanagement, it's hard at times to deal with that conflict that arises from that type of management style. How do you as an employee go to your employer and say, you know what, I'm not enjoying this. I can't come to the party when it comes to this style of management? And also, are you sure of your facts when you go to that manager? Maybe there's something else that you're doing wrong. So that discernment of approaching that environment, how do you deal with it? We're speaking to Boniwe Dunster, Human Resources Specialist for our In the Cubicle feature, speaking workplace themes today right here on Channel Africa.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Palesa and Benjamin fuel your day with fresh African perspective on Channel Africa.
Micromanagement is the conversation we're having in the cubicle today, joined by Human Resources Specialist Boniwe Dunster. Boniwe, let's speak about what to do when there is micromanagement taking place in an organization. But first, I want to find out, how does micromanagement in a particular department really hurt the office culture, or even the culture of that particular department where the micromanagement is taking place?
Yeah, so where you see that there's a department that it's centered around micromanagement, we see low team morale, because as indicated earlier, it means that our manager doesn't trust us, right? We are hired because we have the knowledge, we have the skills, we have the capability to deliver. But as soon as you start demonstrating that you don't trust that capability, or you don't trust the decision of hiring those people, the morale of the people goes down. The team on its own, they start, gossiping, and sometimes they actually start ganging up against you, as a manager. People start submitting subpar or substandard work, because whatever good that they can bring can never actually then be good enough. And you also don't allow people the space, to apply themselves, to also give them, feedback, for them to also make mistakes and grow as a team. So that really, hinders on the team morale. And the downside to that is that you might actually then experience as an organization, high attrition where people resign. You might see productivity going down, not because the capability is there, because the environment or the atmosphere has not been built, with psychological safety, where people can make mistakes, learn from their mistakes, where people can actually be asking for help, where people can also be sharing their views in terms of how things can be done. So team morale actually, is one of the biggest, downfall or negative effects of accountability. And you might be doing it at a departmental level, but unfortunately the ripple effect can be felt, at an organizational level.
So what should be done, right? There is also a power dynamic, right, with management. Like, this is my management style and I was put in this position to manage this particular people or this particular team. As an employee under a leader who does micromanage, how do you handle that situation? How do you, who do you ask even about it, right? Do you go to the manager themselves? Should you bypass the manager? How do you handle that situation?
So let me start with the first part. I think many or few of the management skills that have become important in the past few years, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic, right? Communication skills and interpersonal skills, including empathy, are very high in management skills. So I believe we have passed, or we should be passing, that era whereby this is who I am, and if you can't take it, you can take the highway. We have actually passed that, because we are now in spaces whereby what becomes more important than our technical experiences, it's our empathy as leaders, it's our interpersonal skills, it's our communication skills. The reason I'm emphasizing these three skills is because they were also mentioned in the World Economic Forum 2024 report in terms of the top management skills that are required. So in the absence of that, as a leader, you will actually then fail to introspect. You will actually fail to connect with your team at a heart level. And I'm deliberately saying at a heart level, because you need to connect with your people from the head and the heart. But for them to actually push the extra mile for you, they need to know that you have their back. And that's why we're seeing a lot of managers and executives going through, executive coaching, management coaching, because we really understand that there's certain traits as a leader that you need to develop if you do not have them developed already. And that is what will actually then help you to create that environment within your space. And then the last part of your question in terms of who do you go to? To be honest, the beginning, it's the relationship that exists between me and my manager. That is the first line relationship, me and my supervisor, me and my team leader. I wouldn't really advocate for having to bypass your manager if you haven't attempted to have that conversation, because even if you bypass your manager, the process will always bring you back, to your manager, unless maybe you don't feel safe enough, that you can have that conversation with your line manager. Therefore, you can ask for a third party to join into the conversation, whether that third party could be human resources or that third party could be your line manager super senior. So it is important that you start having the conversation with your line manager to say, this is what I have observed over time. This is what I'm seeing. How do we work past that? I get a sense that you're micromanaging, and this is why I'm saying this. Is this correct or am I not? So give the other person the opportunity, to respond for themselves anyway, so that you can be able to build a relationship, because without trying to build that relationship through communication, you might actually then get to struggle.
All right, Boniwe. As we wrap it up, if the conversation doesn't get sorted, then I'm sure you can go to a more senior person, right?
Definitely you can, because the first step is to actually saying, this is the challenge that I have with this person, and therefore if I can't, then I need to go to the second step, which should be your super senior or your line manager's manager, to say, this is the challenge that I am having. If not, you can then engage HR to say, this is the challenge that I'm facing with my manager. I'm trying to have a conversation, but I'm not winning. Can I get tips or the know-how, or can you support me in my conversation with my line manager, because I want to make things better, or I want somebody to help me articulate myself better if I am not. So always seek for support from the super senior or from your human resources department if you can't get it right. So just don't leave things like that, because at the end of the day, you will remain frustrated.
Sure. Boniwe, we have to leave it there. Where are your socials? Where can we find you?
Thank you. So on my social media, I all go by Boniwe Danster, and that is LinkedIn. On X, it's Danster_Boniwe. Facebook, it's Boniwe Danster. And also on TikTok, it's Boniwe Danster.
You are everywhere, Boniwe, on socials, right? Thank you so much for joining us. That's Boniwe Danster, Human Resources Specialist. Are you brave enough to tell your micromanaging leader to say, look, I'm not happy with your way of leading? It can be daunting, right? Let us know on our WhatsApp number. Let's move on right now. 10:30 Central African Time. Let's get our sports from Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. Good morning once again from the sports desk. So Lungisani Ngidi starred as South Africa secured a 50 runs victory over Canada to open their ICC T20 World Cup campaign on a winning note on Monday. Now, with South Africa setting a target of 214, Ngidi struck with the very first ball of the second innings, finishing with 4 for 31 in 4 overs. He says the wicket behaved as predicted and credits the recent tour of India for aiding in their preparations.
Yeah, we did play the way we thought it would. Obviously, we had played a series against India before, and with the new ball, it did do quite a bit. So we knew that it was going to be tough up front for the new guys. They came out and said that. And then in the middle, obviously, they had strung together a few good overs, and that's T20 cricket. You've got to absorb the pressure, transfer when you can, and that's exactly what the guys did. They came off and told us that it's still not easy to bat out there if you're hitting a good line and length. And then, obviously, the change-ups were also a bit challenging, but we've got world-class finishers, so they were able to do the job.
Ngidi also noted that the pitch at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad was favourable for batting, and he felt a total of 180 or more would have been a defendable score. He also added that the opposition also produced some strong moments with the bat, underscoring that the bowlers still had plenty of work to do.
Look, I think 180, it seems like a very good wicket, and there's periods in the game where, like you saw with them, they got in and you can capitalize on that. Even when we played India, like I say, it was a pretty good batting deck. So yeah, we were thinking around 180. As the bowlers, we were willing to take that.
We'll stay with the ICC World Cup. Pakistan, meanwhile, have confirmed they will play their T20 World Cup clash against India this Sunday, ending a proposed boycott of the fixture. Bangladesh were removed from this year's tournament after refusing to tour India due to the political tensions as well as security concerns between the two countries, with Scotland drafted in as a last-minute replacement. Now, Pakistan Cricket Board Chairman Mohsin Naqvi had previously warned the national side would pull out completely after the government initially directed the team to boycott the February 15th match. So the PCB now, the Pakistan Cricket Board, having confirmed late yesterday that the high-profile encounter will go ahead as scheduled. On to Formula One news now. World champions McLaren have unveiled the livery they will race with in the 2026 Formula One season as they defend their titles. Now, the colour scheme was launched on the MCL 40 in Bahrain on the eve of the pre-season testing, which begins on Wednesday. Now, while the car itself is an all-new challenger built for Formula One's new regulation era, the team has opted to retain its trademark look. So after running a one-off dark livery at last month's Barcelona shakedown, McLaren returned to the familiar Papia design, now entering its 9th campaign as the team's predominant colour. Meanwhile, the FIA are working now to keep a brewing dispute over Formula One's new 2026 power units out of the courtroom as teams now raise concerns ahead of the season opener in Australia on the 8th of March. Ferrari, Honda as well as Audi are understood to fear that Mercedes as well as Red Bull may have gained a performance edge through a regulatory loophole. Now, the row centres on compression ratio limits, with suggestions rivals may now have found a way to exceed the theoretical cap imposed by the new rules. Now, the governing body also has stressed its desire to resolve the issue internally before racing begins, aiming now to avoid legal battles overshadowing Formula One's new era. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, do send us an email, first to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or give us a call. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. It is 10:34 a.m. Central African Time and concludes your sports news this hour. I do return in the final hour of On the Move with the final sporting update for the morning. With Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
téléchargez l'application Channel Africa sur votre Play Store ou Apple Store afin de pouvoir suivre toutes nos émissions en direct de là où vous vous trouvez. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Channel Africa is moving with the times, and so is our WhatsApp line. We've changed our WhatsApp number, making it even easier for you to stay connected. Send us your voice notes, comments, shout outs, and song requests to our new WhatsApp number, +27 83 288 6684. That's +27 83 288 6684. Save it, share it, and stay in the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Let's keep things moving with our latest in business.
Business news on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning. Business Director of Underground Mining Contractor Cementation Africa, Graham Gembarain, is of the view that the recurrence of mining accidents in Africa is caused by the neglect of safety measures by mining companies. In South Africa alone, 42 fatalities were recorded in 2024, while last year 48 people were killed in the collapse of an illegally operated gold mine in western Mali. Gembarain, who is currently attending the 2026 Mining Indaba in Cape Town, South Africa, says mining companies should regularly maintain mining equipment to ensure the safety of mine workers.
You can't install it and leave it. The regime of maintenance and inspection and over-inspection, that's perhaps also a cultural thing, but the over-inspection by management of systems is also key to safety.
Ghana's Securities and Exchange Commission has instructed local fund managers to scale back their offshore investments as part of efforts to support the cedi and strengthen macroeconomic stability. Under a new SEC circular, fund managers will now be permitted to invest a maximum of 20% of their assets under management in foreign securities. Funds that were previously allowed to invest all their money offshore will now be limited to 70%. The move forms part of a broader financial sector reforms tied to Ghana's 3-year IMF-supported program, which is aimed at stabilizing the economy. Ghanaian economist George Antwi Boisiako elaborates on the policy.
We are using this policy to ensure that we actually stabilize our macroeconomy. So having that in mind, an investor know that if you want to invest in Ghana, they have a stable economy, their currency is stable, their interest rate is stable, and things like that. So the long-term impact is what we are looking at. Even in the short term, we want to ensure that we don't repatriate all our forex to the outside Ghana, which is not a very good practice.
Egypt has announced plans for a new $1 billion harbour, hotel and housing development on the Red Sea. This is in a bid to boost the region's tourist industry. Ahmed Shalabi, who is the managing director of the main developer, says the construction on the Monte Galala Towers and Marina project will start in the second half of the year and run for 7 years. The 10-tower development is a partnership with the Housing Ministry and other state bodies, including the Armed Forces Engineering Authority. In other news, Mozambican Minerals and Energy Minister Estevão Palesa says the government is doing everything that is required to make sure that South 32's Mozal aluminium smelter stays open. Palesa was speaking to reporters on the sidelines of the African Mining Indaba in Cape Town, South Africa. In December, Australia's South 32 said it will place the Mozal plant under care and maintenance by March, incurring a $60 billion one-off cost. And after failing to secure a power deal with the government, the company has been in protracted negotiations with the Southern African country's government and power suppliers for years to reach an agreement for the smelter's energy-intensive operations. Coca-Cola forecast 7% to 10% growth in organic operating profit in 2026, driven by strong demand for non-alcoholic drinks and expansion into markets with growth potential. The company, which sells Coca-Cola, Sprite and Fanta in European and African markets, reported an 11.5% increase in 2025 organic operating profit. According to the company compiled poll, analysts were expecting 2026 organic operating profit growth of 9.4% on average. Financial indicators: $1 in Nigeria is at 1,000 naira 366, Botswana 13 pula 10, Kenya 128 shilling 45, Zambia 18 kwacha 64. BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil 5 real 21, Russia 76 rubles 91, India 90 rupees 66, China 6 yuan 93, South Africa 16 rand 3 cents. $1 is 73 pence to the British pound, 84 to the euro. Commodities: gold is at $5,029, platinum at $2,081 per ounce, the price of Brent crude oil at $68.94 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and the whole country affected by gender-based violence. For all your favorite SABC radio stations, call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Move into a world of African music. This is Channel Africa.
kahleni bafana kahleni unginyunde intombi iqoma la ithanda khona bangakutshela lokungami bakutshele lokungami alikho isoka elingenasici banomona la bangakutshela lokungami baphinde bakutshele lokungami alikho isoka elingenasici banomona ngawe la yambeka bebafana nasindwa zinyawo vele bayokhuluma abantu kodwa amandla banawo uyathunyela inhliziyo benze ejumela namhlanje lale ngakuwe namhlanje lale ngakuwe jiyelele 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 mthanda yena wedwa jiyelele 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 mthanda wena wedwa kahleni bafana kahleni ukungidlela umuntu intombi iqoma la ithanda khona athi kahleni bafana kahleni ukunginyunde intombi iqoma la ithanda khona bangakutshela lokungami bakutshele lokungami alikho isoka elingenasici banomona la bangakutshela lokungami baphinde bakutshele lokungami alikho isoka elingenasici banomona ngawe la
This is Java alongside the Kwabe twins and Mzugulu on this one. Isoga, it's 10:47 Central Africa time. We're speaking about micromanagement and we want to find out your stories of micromanagement in the organization. And Liz, we want to get all sides of the story because I know sometimes the story can be very one-sided as employees who say, oh, my manager is always micromanaging, it's making my work very uncomfortable, this, that and the other. And sometimes the manager has a very different perspective. So if you're someone who's a leader or a manager who has had that backlash coming to you and you're like, yeah, actually maybe I was micromanaging, I didn't know I was micromanaging, that was just the management style I knew or that I had learned, but this is how I also adjusted that as well.
Yeah. And also, there are different ways that some employees just do their work, right? And so that just gives them leverage if you're not always in their faces to always just do what they're good at, right? And we all have different styles of working, and how we execute is probably going to have a good output if we just left on our own and just to do things well. I think when micromanagement is really needed is when things go haywire. So maybe there's that one person who needs to kind of adjust to a new environment. I think micromanagement is great there when you're introducing someone to a new thing or they're trying to get used to a new system. Then that micro presence there
is actually helpful.
Is very helpful. But when it becomes toxic and hurtful, that's when it gets really difficult.
And it should only be for a certain period of time, right? If you're helping someone adjust to a particular period, once that period is over, then you should change your management style back to just being accountable, but also, keeping your boundaries there in the workplace.
Yeah, macro and micro, I think they work together. Yeah, absolutely.
+27832 288 is our WhatsApp line. But also you can comment on our live streams. We are always live just for you on our Facebook page, which is Channel Africa, as well as on our YouTube page, which is Channel Africa 1. Great comment section there, and we can have this conversation live on that live stream. But let's move on. It's almost 10:50 Central Africa time.
Stella Longwe
pamalonje.
Apa ndikatswiri oyimba wa dziko la Zambia ameneyu ndi Isaac Zulu Isaac. Apa pali nyimbo imene munayimba yomwe ikuti Manda Ambeta. Nyimbo imene imakamba zotani?
Nyimbo imeneyi ndinayimba zona ndikuchoka pasi pa mtima kamba kakuona ma situation yena amene amachitika makamaka kukhala chikulisa achinyamata kapena azibambo tita azibambo. So kambiri chimapezeka kuti azibambo pena aliko amene amakhala ndi mitima ankhanza osadziwa mosamalirira banja kuti wachikondi wanga ndifuna kukhala naye mnjira yotani kuti moyo wake ukhale wosangalala. Ndino zimafika pena zoti mwina wachimayi walemedwa nazo nkhanza za munthu wachimuna kapena kuti abambo okhala nawo pa nyumba. Ena amafika pa mtima pokamba mawu akuti ine munthu amuna anga pondikwatira ananditenga ku makolo sanatenge m'munsi mwa mtengo. Ndino nisafe chifukwa cha chikondi. Kulibe manda ambeta ngakhale tapita ku manda wina akafa munthu wokwatira kapena osakwatiwa sipamalembeka kuti apa pafa munthu amene sadalepo mbanja.
Thengatu wamphamvu kuti iyayi azibambo azisamalira bwino akazi osachitira nkhanza komanso azimayemera kuona mazunzo iyayi kulibe manda ambeta.
Malonje pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo. Lowiruka ndi Stella Longwe.
Darubini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Kapele Mutachu tunaelezwa ya kwamba waziri wa zamani wa polisi Mbekisele ameanza kutoa ushahidi wake mbele ya kamati ya bunge. Pengine namna ambavyo anaelezea na kutoa ushahidi wake, hii ikoje na imekaje? Hali hii ambavyo ilivyo hivi sasa inaleta picha gani kwa raia wa Afrika Kusini?
Hii hali inaleta picha nzuri, kwanza inaonyesha kama usalama wa nchi hauko kwenye njia nzuri. Wakati wale wenyewe wanapewa nafasi ya kufanya ulinzi wa nchi na ulinzi wa raia, wanakwenda kukamatwa na wenyewe kuwa miongoni ya watu wenyewe wanakwenda tena kuziwia wala kuprotect maalifu. Inaleta hali mbaya ndani ya nchi kuhusu usalama kwanza wa nchi peke yake, usalama wa raia.
Darubini ya Afrika kila Jumatatu hadi Ijumaa kuanzia saa 11 kamili hadi saa 12 kamili jioni majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
No interruptions, just the music you love on Channel Africa.
Since 1947, the matter never settled. You be what I be get to. Massability lo ya walenu. Better recognize. Greatest of all time. No other name then go call mine. As I they shut it, I'm not nice. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as long as I jalaba. And they call me the Godfather. Move like an Italian. Have you ever seen a nigga like moi? Each and every lady wanna give me mwah. When they smoke weed, when they smoke cigar. Now we there, I try to move on. I know two pass, give me solo man. I get high, I journaling. You know like me, one more. My advice is fun along. Cause my guys don't follow no. When the sky start falling down, I'm still your daddy.
Olele fala, my pretty Malayami. I'm thinking follow me. I'll take the color. Wait for low dollar on me. And you never call on me. What I love on me. Wait for love on me. I pray, call on me. Who you go on me? You call on me. My name is Susanna. I give you my call on my body with all of me. Keep you bang as a tell. Yap, I eat your lover. Tiggy tiggy bang, tell him solo on me. Wait your love on me. I'm a melu yestagua. Alanga bangana makala. I'm a kiss, I'm a cause savana. So let's call a gulu daba. Shivirim, she. Even if you boom, this pussy can I play. So but tell him I'm a mate. Yo, yo.
Tuesday, Wednesday, as long as I jalaba. And they call me the Godfather. Move like an Italian.
Olele
Hey, Chwalabam, I don't hear this one anymore as much as I used to. Is it a one-hit wonder?
Hey, I don't know.
I'm joking,
I don't
man.
know.
That's Chwalabam, Tito M, UPS&E featuring Burna Boy, a big hit that made its waves internationally. It's 55 minutes past 10 o'clock Central African time. Channel Africa, giving you news, information, entertainment from an African perspective. And we're going to be talking Valentine's from an African perspective, looking at it from a money's eye view. Finances are very much a big thing in relationships. As much as we minimize it, as much as we put it on the side, we pretend like it's not there, right? And it's just me and your heart. It's just how we feel about each other, right? But when things start going sour, when there's debt in the relationship, when there's secrets that are around money, that's when a relationship really is tested. It's true. Money does test a relationship, and that's what we're going to be talking about as we're looking forward to this Valentine's Day. Bali was just reminding me it's on the 14th of February. That is Saturday.
Yeah,
it's just going to be one of those days where things are going to be flowery and all that. We're going to be speaking about as Valentine's Day as it comes up. Is it a reminder that planning your financial future together with your your partner, right, as a couple, I meant, is it just as important as celebrating your love? Are the two determining of each other? What's your take on that one?
Yeah, no, I don't know. There are make or break moments when it comes to money and finances. I think especially around this time of the year, right? Because we all have so many expectations of our partners and what romance looks like for that particular couple.
Sure.
And if there is romance at all. And you know what? Relationships need money. That's the thing, right? That's why you can't avoid not having that conversation, because relationships and money go hand in hand throughout the relationship. Even if it's not Valentine's month, it's always nice to show, some nice sentimental things that you can do or show your partner that you love them. But if they have their head deep in social media and the expectations are that something big is going to happen, but nothing big is happening in the bank account, then we should really start to have that talk.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've always had like very chilled relationships when it comes to these kind of things, and romance I always feel is interesting when it's outside the perimeters of gifting and all of that. I always wanted to define gifting romance outside of the gifting spectrum, because I think then it becomes more challenging. But what's interesting about money is that it determines how you guys navigate your challenges, how it also how you navigate your honesty, right? Because I think once you get honest with someone and they're honest with you and you know each other's finances, if that determines the trajectory of the love, I've got a lot of questions around that. When money is the determining factor for how I feel about you, I've always run away from that kind of love.
I don't think it's ever a determining factor, but money can change a lot of things in a relationship, and not just saying like, when there's no money, there is no love. I think sometimes people can also have behaviors that are attached to their money and their pocket that may change depending on the money circumstances. And so I hear this a lot, like, oh no, when I didn't have any more money, they left me. But what people, don't introspect is that, when I didn't have money, that made me feel a particular way. Maybe I went into a depression. Maybe I just wasn't behaving the same anymore. And I took out some of my frustrations on my partner. And when those frustrations build up over time, then my partner left me. But people may give it a shortcut and say, yeah, it's because I didn't have money, therefore this person left me, when there could have been a lot of things that happened in between.
Well, I heard another story just a few days. A friend of mine was talking to me about a very close person in their lives and saying, this person's husband is actually getting a lot of money, he's growing, and but actually it's shattering the relationship. The more money this guy gets, it's just shattering this.
And why is that?
It's
his behavior has probably changed.
Yeah, his behavior has actually changed. So that's going to be an interesting one. A Valentine's theme for our Money Matters this week. So what's your take on that one? Let us know on our WhatsApp number. You can text us or voice note us. Is money a determining factor for love? +2783 288 6684. We'd love to hear from you. Let's move into the final hour hour of On the Move, we've got this conversation that's still coming up. Remember, we're also on those live streams where you can give us your comments just below. Tell us where you listen to Channel Africa from. We'd love to hear from you. Which city, which maybe urban area or rural area are you in your city that you are listening to us on. We'd love to know, in your country, I meant. So we'd love to know where you are from. Join us on our Facebook page, which is simply titled Channel Africa, and also on our YouTube page at Channel Africa 1 is the handle there. Let's see what we have in our latest news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, Sudan to return to the East African Regional Bloc IGAD, and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer refuses to resign. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. Sudan has announced that it will return to the East African Regional Bloc IGAD. The country suspended its membership in January 2024 after IGAD invited the head of the Rapid Support Forces, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, to a summit in Uganda. The decision follows a meeting in January between IGAD's Executive Secretary Wokne Gebeyehu and the Sudanese Prime Minister Kamil Idris. The nearly 3-year conflict has split Sudan between army-controlled areas in the north, east and centre and the RSF-controlled territories in the west and parts of the south. South Africa has made no progress in combating corruption in the past 3 years. This is according to an anti-corruption movement, Transparency International's 2025 Corruption Perceptions Index released today. The index found worsening corruption and a decline in leadership globally, with South Africa stagnating with a score of 41, which is the same than last year. The score is still below the global average of 42. The index measures levels of public sector corruption in 182 countries and territories on a scale of 0, indicating highly corrupt to 100, which is very clean. Independent forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan in South Africa has expressed satisfaction over the security measures taken ahead of his appearance before Parliament's ad hoc committee today. He had initially requested to appear before the committee virtually, citing safety concerns. However, the committee yesterday said that the strictest security arrangements would be upheld during his appearance. O'Sullivan was speaking ahead of his appearance.
I've been liaising with the Parliamentary Protection Services, and steps have been taken to ensure my ability to get in and out of the building without any undue problems.
Civic movement March and March has again called on the South African government to declare illegal immigration in the country a state of emergency. The movement has raised concern over the infiltration of illegal miners, commonly known as the Zamazamas, in various communities, endangering the lives of residents. Last month, about 500 residents from the Sporong informal settlement in Kagiso, west of Johannesburg, fled their homes following intimidation from the Zamazamas. The movement's founder, Jacinda Ngobese Zuma, says they want President Cyril Ramaphosa to deploy the army to assist police in the removal of illegal foreigners from communities and the country.
A state of emergency can be declared if a country is being invaded, and we do believe that the influx of illegal immigrants is what we can term an invasion. So the law does support that, and the president can deploy the SANDF. And we thought this would be very important for places that have been taken over by the Zamazamas and all these other places and towns that have been taken over by illegal immigrants, where we can see that the police are clearly not managing to deal with the situation.
Lastly, the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has told his Labour Party MPs that he will not resign despite calls from the party's Scottish leader. Concerns had been growing within the party over his judgment to appoint Peter Mandelson, a former friend of Epstein, as Britain's ambassador to Washington. The BBC's Chris Mason.
The Prime Minister has had a political near-death experience and survived, for now at least. At various points, he looked like he might be done for, and imminently. If the Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar's desire to dislodge Sir Keir Starmer had had public accomplices, that could have been it. Of course, missives of loyalty from cabinet ministers towards the Prime Minister shouldn't be newsworthy. They only become so when the opposite seems feasible. This has been a deeply wounding week for Sir Keir, and he is weaker for it.
Recapping on your top stories, Sudan has announced that it will return to the East African Regional Bloc IGAD. The country suspended its membership in January 2024 after IGAD invited the head of the Rapid Support Forces, Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, to a summit in Uganda. For any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Tsinsi.
SABC News. The African Perspective. We are on OpenView's audio bouquet. Channel 628. On the Move with Benjamin and Palesa every weekday on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
It's the month of love, and as we approach Valentine's Day this Saturday on the 14th of February, in today's Money Matters, we're going to spotlight the finances issue and the conversations that we need to have so that we can, or perhaps we can't, meet the expectations of Valentine's Day and the month of love coming up. How do we future plan with our partners and speak about our finances, also without, bypassing the fact that people do just want to celebrate love, and I think it's a good thing to want to celebrate love. But stay with us. The Money Matters feature is coming up in a bit.
Stay with us as we're also asking this question. Do you think money is a determining factor? Remember, we've got that conversation going when it comes to money and relationship. So let us know on that one on our WhatsApp number +27 83288684. Does money determine a relationship? Let us know.
This is my decision. This is my decision. I don't think you listen. You listen. I don't think you listen. For me to come out, it must mean I'm a teacher. It must mean I'm not the same. It must mean I'm on your case. For me to come out, it means that I'm not the teacher. I want to show you my world. Give me one break, I need faith. Faith to believe you, faith to receive you. Give me something I'm lacking, I don't need nothing. You are my everything. Only me and you, only me and you, only me and you,
And you are going to be speaking about our finances after the break. This is Tim's a beautiful love song as we have a love and money conversation after this.
Africa Update on Channel Africa with Lulu Kabu.
Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi has now accused Rwanda of violating the peace deal. Are you surprised at this latest accusation? This is literally days after a signing a ceremony, so to speak.
This is not surprising. I mean, if you ask Paul Kagame, he would also say almost the same thing. One should ask a question. The broker of the peace deal, President Trump, what is it that he wants? Why now? And why is this peace deal being signed in the Americas and not in the Great Lakes? Paul Kagame has never respected Tshisekedi, as often say. Tshisekedi must deal with the problems in his country. He has nothing to do with it. So this peace deal, obviously, when it was signed, one just looked at it and said, this will not last.
Kenny Matiba, former journalist.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time. Step into the heart of the day on the move with Palesa and Benjamin.
It's Valentine's Day approaching on the 14th of February, and because it's the month of love, it's only, it only makes sense that we're going to speak about relationships, just not in the way that most of us are thinking right now, in the more romantic way, but we're going to be speaking about it in the important way. I mean, finances are one of the most important sources of tension in relationships, most common sources of tension in relationships, but some couples really do avoid discussing them at all. And sometimes even during this year, it might probe a conversation about the expectations of finances within a relationship. But should this be the only time you speak about, I'm sorry, I can't afford a 5-star restaurant. I'm sorry, I'm going to get you a small bouquet and I can't afford big one. I'm sorry, I can't get you a PS5, darling, for Valentine's Day, but I have a great love note that I have for you. Or should this be something that we make more common in our relationships? Kathleen Moretti is the head of training at Autonomy, joining us in today's Money Matters feature to speak about planning our futures financially and not just romantically in the month of love. Kathleen, always a pleasure to have you. Good morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Well, it is the first time we're speaking this year, but the year has been new.
I say that intentionally.
But also I want to say, happy Valentine's Day in advance. We know it's the month of love and we usually don't expect to be having serious conversations when our minds are in a romantic time frame.
True. But you see, well, yes, I agree. It's the month of love, but love is emotional, relationships are practical. So we also need to be logical around certain conversations, especially when it comes to money and relationships. Otherwise, if you're in a relationship and you do not openly talk about money, then there's no sense of direction. There's no shared value around particular areas. There's no shared goals. So what are you guys really doing in that relationship? There has to be, a recalculation of some conversations, actually.
Yeah. We say this is the month of celebrating love, and we think about that so one-dimensionally, right? We think about it only for the romantic perspective of what it is. But the romance is going to come and it's going to go. The 15th of February comes after Valentine's Day, and we have to be back in our actual relationships, the practical kind, as you say. So let's speak about that, the importance of actually having financial conversations in your relationship, even when your mind is in a more romantic mode.
It's very important, honestly, to have these conversations because at the end of the day, just like I said, relationships are very practical. So I would advise anyone who's in a relationship to openly talk about, especially going down into the intricate details around personal finance. What are your money values? Even before we get to the numbers, this is how much I earn, these are my spending habits, this is what I'm paying at the end of the month, the black tax, all these nitty-gritties. But just going down into what are your money values, for example, what did you learn about money growing up? What does financial security mean to you?
Oh, come on, Kathleen. That sounds like a party pooper of a conversation. I mean, it's so serious to speak about money values, right? But How do you do that in a way that is going to not turn off your partner? Because money does turn people off. As soon as you start talking about money, someone asks, like, what's this person's intention? Are they here for money? Are they here for me? Because starting that conversation is tricky.
Exactly. So the key is to basically just make these money conversations a normal part of the relationship, just like you're saying, not a one-time interrogation or something that you do indirectly where you observe how your person is, the relationship about money with your person. So make it a normal conversation. And that's where now the money values come in, because one simple question, what did you learn about money growing up, will unravel so much, and you'll be able to understand what kind of mindset does my person have. Is he or she operating from a scarcity mentality or an abundant mentality? From a scarcity mentality, then it will make sense if they spend so much because they lacked a lot growing up. So they are in that compensation kind of phase where I didn't have this growing up. Now I can be able to afford it. I'm going to buy it as many times as possible, And then from an abundant mentality is, we pretty much had enough, so I do not mind not buying this. These conversations will actually open a very, very, very nice way for you to actually now understand. So my person is like this, then this is some of the ways that we need to work around money. And then now that goes down to what kind of life do we want to have, who's going to play what role, who's the stricter person, who's the saver, who's the spender, So you don't get into those technical questions right in. That simple question of, what did you learn about money growing up, will unravel so much that you need to know.
So when do we start this conversation? Because a lot of people are like,
as early as possible.
When people listen to this, they're like, yeah, but me and my relationship, we're not there yet. And I think there is a misconception that these are conversations for people who are in relationships, who are starting to plan for marriage or, very serious conversations, want to live together. But you say as soon as possible. Isn't that awkward?
No, it's not awkward. Relationships need to be very practical. And if you guys are committed to each other, the earlier the better. That way now let me give you an example. You're going out on a first date, you've picked out this nice restaurant, your lady is ordering some kind of food that you don't really afford, Don't you think that's awkward? You need to have that conversation before you actually get to go on a date.
Yeah.
You need to understand, how does this person operate? What are some of the mentalities, the mindset that this person have around money? And this is when you're in that talking stage, when you're getting to know each other before now you decide, okay, let's now try and go out on a date. So the earlier the better, because now it will actually save you a lot, and it will even help you to set some boundaries about money as early as possible, because some people are in debt. They're not going to tell you if you don't have that conversation. Others pay a lot of money in terms of black tax. You're not going to know that if you don't have this conversation. And the earlier you know this, the better, because now you're able to know, do I want this in my life? No, then you move on to the next person. Before now the emotions are so high and you're afraid to leave this person. You've probably taken out debt for this person, and you're now in the extreme case where now you can't actually leave this person because you're financially entangled, and you're afraid of the consequences around leaving this person.
I like that, because this is how you're going to know that you are compatible with your money ambitions with your partner, or what you find you're suited to be as an attraction when it comes to money. Let's say the conversation is moving forward and you guys have cemented this relationship. Over time, we shift where we are with our incomes. There are challenges, but there are also more opportunities. Some people grow their money, some people have less money as the relationship keeps going. Curious about that. As a relationship keeps going, people become even more secretive about money, because we've had that initial talk, remember, when we were dating. So we know what we think about money. Like you spoke about the ethics of money. We know our values around money. But as the relationship keeps going, maybe we just start doing things quietly by ourselves. How do you keep the communication space open about money? Because the longer the relationship goes, I feel like people get very relaxed around that. But we'll talk about that after the break.
Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you will be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Palesa and Benjamin, fuel your day with fresh African perspective on Channel Africa.
Valentine's Day is around the corner. We're speaking about money and coupling, and we're joined by Kathleen Moretti, Head of Training at Centonomy, a financial consultancy firm in Kenya. Kathleen, you know, it's so easy to have those initial conversations sometimes, and we make it kind of a thing to talk about money at the beginning of our relationship. But when we grow into our careers, we grow our money, we grow our assets, less and less do we speak about the financial responsibilities that we have. Maybe we know a little bit about what's happening in the household, but I've noticed with couples, as there is that growth in their career, or maybe their complication when it comes to their workplace, maybe they're getting less, people then just have a very kind of awkward moment when it comes to speaking about money.
I agree. And this is where trust is a very big currency in relationships, over and above the different facets of relationship. Once you're able to establish trust at the very early onset, then conversations or communication around money becomes very easy. But I do agree, people change. You know, over time, you are in a relationship 10 years, 15 years, you've started earning money, a lot has happened, there were conflicts at some point, your person has changed, so now you become a little bit secretive around money. And here's now where the conversations around boundaries come in, all right? When two people come together, they become one. That's what we hear in church and when our pastors to put two people together. But you see, when it comes to money, if we do not have an easy or a seamless communication with your partner around money, money can become one of the biggest sources of conflicts. Why? Because there are no boundaries, there's resentment that will come in, misunderstanding, some people will be manipulated at some point. So it becomes very, 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 very toxic at some point. So communication actually creates a sense of dignity around money. So it communicates what is to be shared, what is off limits, you know. It also even reduces confusion and prevents assumptions like, oh, because you're earning more, or, oh, yes, this is what you're earning when you started out. There's a promotion at some point. You have grown. I can be able to see the kind of friends that you have right now, the kind of networks that you have right now. I'm in debt. Now you're responsible for paying off my debt. You see where the miscommunication will come in if there's no clear boundary around what you want in terms of your personal finance, even as you're getting into the relationship, and the goals and the values that you want and the life that you want to build with your person. So this trust becomes very, very important because now both partners know what is expected of them. It creates some sense of emotional stability or emotional safety around that relationship. And then now it prevents money from becoming a silent source of tension. So now you are even afraid to say, I got a bonus. You're even afraid to say, oh, there's a piece of land that I want to buy. Once you have these conversations, and you know now with trust, it's because at some point the love will end. That's what we usually say. But what remains as a baseline is you become friends, you become partners. So you're able to reason out logically, removing the whole emotion on the side. Because when emotions are high, that's when now bad decisions are actually made around money, especially with couples.
Kathleen, I've heard the saying, money changes people. And so we take this advice, oh my gosh, it's so great. You know, we sit down, we speak about our finances, and then, you know, everything is great. We have an understanding. But then life keeps on moving, things change, and we don't have follow-up conversations. And then when things change change with money, people can also change, with those money changes. And maybe there's a breakup that comes from those changes, or maybe a lot of tension in the relationship. And we go back to that 3 years ago when we started our relationship. But remember, we had this conversation. How important are these follow-up conversations as things change? Because most of the time, couples have one conversation and they think, okay, it's done, we have an understanding, but they're not continuously adjusting the conversation as things adjust in life and in the relationship.
Very, very, very important. I usually tell couples that I advise that it is wise to have these conversations at the end of the year and also at the beginning of another year. Treat your relationship like a business that you want to grow. Over time, you'll have kids. Over time, you'll have property. Remove all these elements. Go into an undisclosed locations. List down what do you want to achieve this year as an individual. What do you want to achieve this year as a couple? List them down, and then now work around what will take me to provide whatever is necessary for us to achieve this goal. So once you treat that as a business, at the end of the day, the whole element of emotions, now you put that aside and you sit down as two logical people. So what do we want to do now? We want to go on vacation. When? In the month of November. All right. How much is that going to cost us as a family? It's probably going to cost us 1 million shillings. How much can we put aside every month towards that? All right, so I can put aside 100K. My partner can put aside 200,000. So if that's how we are able to work around, then it means we'll even have more than 1 million. Then now we can be able to recalculate and say, okay, then let's budget for 2 million. You see, two heads coming together logically and having conversations, treating relationship as a business. Because at the end of the day, that is what is very necessary. Love is very emotional, but relationships have to be very practical. Come together and have scalable and viable and practical things that you do as a couple. That way now, if you have bad mindset around money, you're able to be held accountable, right? So it's I am an impulse spender. Cool, but we are working towards a vacation at the month of November. So then I can't afford to spend this 1,000 shillings. It would mean my partner will have to save twice as much because they're trying to compensate for my bad behavior. So what does that do also for you mentally? You're able now to clearly lock in and work together as a couple. Because at the end of the day, you guys are in it for the long haul. Why don't you just come together in the beginning and say, this is what we want to achieve, then now let's treat it as a business. And I've seen so many couples do that and they become very successful. But if you don't have these conversations, then it means there's no sense of direction, there's no system in that relationship. So everyone is pretty much doing whatever they want to do. And what does that mean, or what does that translate to in the next 10, 20 years? Divorce. And then our conversations around prenup start coming up. Conversations around, I need to protect my family, all these things. Then now you stop being friends. There's a lot of chaotic environment that you create, and there are children in it. You see now, so the element of having that system from the onset saves you a lot of trouble in the long run.
Okay. And when you deal with financial crisis, people always think a relationship must come to an end. What would you advise couples out there to do in moments of uncertainty?
At the very early, just have a prenup. I know that's a conversation, especially in the African setup where we really frown upon that. Have a prenup, but if you do not have a prenup at the early, it's now time for you to start having conversations around estate planning, all right? So that means now you're able to sit down and say, what does a trust look like in the event that I'm no longer part of this family? Are my children protected? Are my generations to come protected? What does it look like? Because in most cases, all right, so we have separated, but something could happen and they die, so how does that look like also? So it's good to now start having conversations around estate planning, because if you don't, when that time comes, then now you have actually opened a whole door for the government to come in and put your affairs in order. And when that happens now, there's no element of all right, now I need to think about your emotions, I need to think about who will say all those things. The government will come, it will assign a lawyer, it will assign an administrator, and most times people don't like how the government does things. So it's good if you don't have a prenup, now start thinking about estate planning and update as often as possible. If we have bought this piece of land together, have that on record. We have actually we are deciding to take our child to this school, have that on record, so that when that time comes, there's a reference document that actually dictates what needs to happen at this point in time.
Whew, it's a lot, eh? It doesn't feel like Valentine's Day when you speak about all these things, right? But Kathleen, let's leave it there. Where can people find you online?
My name is Kathleen Morethi. You can find me across all social media platforms as Kathleen Morethi. You can also even find our company, Centonomy, across all social media platforms.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on right now. What's your take on that one? Yo, prenups, huh? Talking about every month you just have to check up on the finances. Is it that practical? Or maybe you've got your reservations about sharing your check with your partner. Maybe they'll change their minds about you, what they feel about you. Let us know on our WhatsApp number what you think about the one +27 83 288 6684. It's 11:30 Central African Time. It's time for us to get our sports. Musibudi's back.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. A very good morning once again from the Sports Desk. So for the final time this morning, we'll start our sports bulletin with some cricket news. So in case you missed it, Lungisani Ngidi starred as South Africa secured a 57-run victory over Canada to open their ICC T20 World Cup campaign on a winning note on Monday. So with South Africa setting a 214-run target, Ngidi struck with the first ball of the second innings, finishing with figures of 4 for 31 in 4 overs. He says the wicket behaved as predicted and credits the recent tour of India for aiding their preparations.
Yeah, we did play the way we thought it would. Obviously, we had played a series against India before, and with the new ball, it did do quite a bit. So we knew that it was going to be tough up front for the new guys. They came out and said that. And then in the middle, obviously, they had strung together a few good overs, and that's T20 cricket. You've got to absorb the pressure, transfer when you can, and that's exactly what the guys did. They came off and told us that it's still not easy to bat out there if you're hitting a good line and length. And then obviously the change-ups were also a bit challenging, but we've got world-class finishers, so they were able to do the job.
Ngidi also noted that the pitch at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad was favourable for batting, and he felt a total of 180 or more would have still been a defendable score. He added that the opposition also produced some strong moments with the bat, underscoring that the bowlers still had plenty of work to do.
Look, I think 180, it seems like a very good wicket. And there's periods in the game where, like you saw with them, they got in and you can capitalize on that. Even when we played India, like I say, it was a pretty good batting deck. So, yeah, we were thinking around 180. As the bowlers, we were willing to take that.
On to Formula One news now. World champions McLaren have unveiled the livery they will race with in the 2026 Formula One season as they defend their titles. Now, the colour scheme was launched on the MCL40 in Bahrain on the eve of the pre-season testing, which begins on Wednesday. So while the car itself is an all-new Challenger built for Formula One's regulation era, the team has opted to retain its trademark look after running a one-off dark livery at last month's Barcelona shakedown. McLaren's return to their familiar papaya design, now entering its 9th campaign as the team's predominant colour. Staying with our Formula One news, the FIA are working to keep a brewing dispute over Formula One's new 2026 power units out of the courtroom as teams now raise concerns ahead of the season opener in Australia on the 8th of March. Ferrari, Honda as well as Audi are understood to fear the Mercedes as well as the Red Bull may have gained a performance edge through a regulatory loophole. Now the row centres on compression ratio limits, with suggestions rival may have found ways to exceed the cap imposed on the new rules. Now, the governing body has stressed its desire to resolve the issue internally before racing begins, aiming to avoid any legal battles overshadowing Formula One's new era. And finally, in tennis news, Emma Raducanu retired from her first round match against Camelia Osorio at the Qatar Open 2 days after losing the Transylvania Open final. Now, the British number one called the trainer onto the court to have her blood pressure taken after being broken at the start of the third set, and was 2-love down in the decider to Colombia's Osorio. She forfeited the match. Now, Raducanu had won the first set 6-2 before conceding the second set 6-4. On Saturday, the 23-year-old featured in her first final since her US Open at triumph in 2021, but was beaten in little over an hour by Sorana Cristia at the Transylvania Open. Raducanu also had a blood pressure taken in that match and afterwards revealed her fitness had been affected because she was battling a bit of a chest infection. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, do send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. That concludes your sports news this morning on Channel Africa. The time is 11:35 a.m. Central African Time. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go. Channel Africa is moving with the times, and so is our WhatsApp line. We've changed our WhatsApp number, making it even easier for you to stay connected. Send us your voice notes, comments, shout outs, and song requests to our new WhatsApp number, +27 83 288 6684. That's +27 83 288 6684. Save it, share it, and stay in the conversation. Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
All right, it's time for our latest business news.
Business news on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning. Business Director of Underground Mining Contractor Cementation Africa, Graham Gamble Ryan, is of the view that the recurrence of mining accidents in Africa is caused by the neglect of safety measures by mining companies. In South Africa alone, 42 fatalities were recorded in 2024, while last year 48 miners were killed in the collapse of an illegally operated gold mine in western Mali. Gambarain, who is currently attending the 2026 Mining Indaba in Cape Town, South Africa, says mining companies should regularly maintain mining equipment to ensure the safety of mine workers.
You can't install it and leave it. The regime of maintenance and inspection and over-inspection, that's perhaps also a cultural thing, but the over-inspection by management of systems is also key to safety.
Botswana's economy is projected to grow this year after 2 successive years of contraction, but debt is expected to rise beyond the government's statutory ceiling because of another large budget deficit. In a budget speech, Ndaba Haulati says economic growth this year was forecast at 3.1% compared to an estimated contractions of 0.4% last year and 2.8% in 2024. Botswana's economy has been hit hard by prolonged downturn in the global diamond market driven by economic uncertainty and the rising popularity of lab-grown stones. Diamonds typically account for about 1/3 of Botswana's national revenue and 3/4 of its foreign exchange earnings. Mozambican Minerals and Energy Minister Estevão Palesa says the government is doing everything that is required to make sure that South 32's Mozal aluminium smelter stays open. Pale was speaking to reporters on the sidelines of the African Mining Indaba in Cape Town, South Africa. In December, Australia's South 32 said it will place the Mozal plant under care and maintenance by March, incurring a $60 million one-off cost after failing to secure a power deal with the government. The company has been in protracted negotiations with the Southern African country's government and power suppliers for years to reach an agreement for the smelter's energy-intensive operations. OPEC's oil output fell in January due to lower supply from Nigeria and Libya, which offset increases in members including Venezuela after the U.S. capture of Nicolas Maduro and the ending of an oil blockade. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries pumped 28.34 million barrels per day in January, down 60,000 barrels per day from December's total. In January, OPEC Plus, which comprises of OPEC and allies, including Russia, began a first quarter pause of its monthly output increases amid concerns of a supply glut. Coca-Cola HBC AG forecast 7% to 10% growth in organic operating profit in 2026, driven by strong demand for non-alcoholic drinks and expansion into markets into growth potential. The company, which sells Coca-Cola, Sprite and Fanta in European and African markets, reported an 11.5% increase in 2025 organic operating profit. According to the company compiled poll, analysts were expecting 2026 organic operating profit growth of 9.4% on average. Now let's have a look at financial indicators. $1 in Nigeria is 1,000 naira 366, Botswana 13 pula 10, Kenya 128 shilling 45, Zambia 18 kwacha 64. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil, 5 real 21, Russia 76 rubles 91, India 90 rupees 66, China 6 yuan 93, South Africa 16 rand 3 cents. $1 is 73 pence to the British pound, 84 to the euro. Commodities, gold is at $5,029, platinum at $2,081 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil at $68.94 a barrel. That is all from me. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Madapiri Pazoshitika. Madapiri Pazoshitika.
Madotolo oposa 1,500 amene amagwira ntchito yaulere mu zipatala zaboma mu dziko la Zambia azanyanyala ntchito lachisanu sabata yammawa, ndipo Daniel Shabanda kutambasula nkhaniyi.
Madotolo oposa 1,500 amene amagwira ntchito mopanda malipiro apamwezi dziko la Zambia akuyembekezera kuyamba kunyanyala ntchito. Ichi ndi chifukwa chakuti boma lalephera kuwalemba ntchito monga mmene lidawalonjezera. Channel Africa News yalankhulana ndi mkulu wa bungwe la madotolo la Resident Doctors Association of Zambia, Dr. Paul Chiwe, akugomeza kuti madotolo ambiri amene akugwira ntchito mu zipatala zaboma akugwira ntchito yaulere, ndipo ali ndi chiyembekezo chakuti tsiku lina adzalembedwa ntchito ndi boma.
Zochitika pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo, lolemba mpaka lachisanu ndi Madapiri. Africa at Play with Neto, NETO Chairman.
Lelintle, talk to us about your relationship with your father, Coach Pitso. What is this one thing that he said to you that is still stuck at the top of your head?
Coach Pitso and our mom, Moira Kakale, have always told us that whatever we do in life, we must do it to the best of our abilities, that, represents our family well. But the big thing is do what you love and do it with all the passion that you have. And I think we see it in both their work. I mean, my mom has done a really good job with placing Coach Pitso in different clubs around the world, and she's negotiated contracts, and she's shown that as a woman you can also do work that is seen, and you can also get respect from men in a male-dominated space. And I think my dad has also shown that you must never underestimate the Black African man.
Lelintle Musimane, a South African communications and digital media professional. Lelintle is also a daughter to a great mentor when it comes to the game of football, Coach Jingles Musimane.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. No interruptions. Just the music you love on Channel Africa.
Papa ngishade ngomso ngikuzalele ngok kungabanjani ke kungabanjani kungabanjani ke kungabanjani nomuntu nomunye kodwa ngifuna eduze ungamelapha anginankinga nawe nomuntu nomunye kodwa ngifuna eduze ungamelapha anginankinga nawe shela phela sazane kangcono awu shela phela sazane kangcono awu shela phela ngikufuna eduze It's Deep with Nia Pearl and Buhle Shela. Yes, it's almost Valentine's Day. Shela actually means ask me out, right? So Kalung Shele, ask me out.
Propose.
I don't know. Or propose. I don't know if it's a good idea to do it now, days before Valentine's Day.
Do not do it. Warning.
Why is that a warning?
Alert.
Well, I mean, do it now. Do it now.
You
and
just
then-
warned us, now you're changing your mind.
Do it now. I did change my mind. Do
Alright.
it now, and then take her on or take him on a nice Valentine's.
Do it after Valentine's Day.
Nice
Promise you
Valentine's
it's gonna work.
date, and then you can see what happens afterwards. Do it now. Do it. I mean, there's no time like the present. Also, if you've been wanting this person for a long time, what a better time to make sure that they're going to fall head over heels in love with you than on Valentine's
And then
Day.
they dump you after Valentine's Day.
You'll worry about that afterwards. What if they don't dump you? What if you live happily ever after? Do it. Trust me. It's 11:50 Central Africa time. We're talking love and money. Have you had those conversations? Or are you just sort of waiting it out, going at the flow? That happens a lot in relationships as well. Either way, we're going to be finding out what's coming up on today's Africa Update after the break. In the meantime, let's hear your thoughts on the conversation of the day. Our WhatsApp lines are still open. +27 83 288 6684.
The whole population of Africa has been shocked to the depth of its soul.
For 60 years, Channel Africa has been the voice that connects the continent, telling our stories and sharing our vision with the world. This year, we mark 6 decades of broadcast excellence.
60 years of stories, sound, and connection.
6 years of African conversations that matter.
This is 60 years of broadcast excellence.
Rooted in Africa's heartbeat and looking boldly into the future. Join Channel Africa as we celebrate 60 years of broadcasting. Still strong, still vibrant, and still giving you the African perspective.
Channel Africa.
Hashtag on the move and connect with us.
Lulu Gabu is here. She'll be taking over from 12 p.m. Central Africa time on the Africa Update, and she's here to let us know what's coming up. Morning, Lulu.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
All right, so Sudan in the spotlight. They've announced that they're returning to IGAD, ending a 2-year freeze. So we'll be unpacking, what this means for the people of Sudan and, going forward. Is it a learning lesson for the country? And, what the other members will have to say on this, because it's a very interesting one. We're going to be speaking to Dennis Munene, who is Executive Director of China Africa Center at the Africa Policy Institute. With the regional bloc having imposed a freeze on Sudan for 2 years, and this will be especially at this present time with everything that's happening with global economics. And then also Closer to home, Zimbabwe's government denying any involvement in the killing of a political activist in South Africa. With the news of what is his name? I think Zimbabwean, basically Saruwaka, was shot and killed in Mabopane in Pretoria, that's in the capital city of South Africa. So we'll be unpacking that and a lot more on Africa Update today.
All right, Lulu, we're looking forward to that. That is the Africa Update from 12 to 1 p.m. Central Africa time, right here on Channel Africa.
Sengizokuthengela umbhayimbayi udubula intaba khona uzongibona njalo 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 sengizokuthengela umbhayimbayi udubula intaba zangakini khona uzongibona njalo 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 uzongibona njalo uzongibona tembala njalo uzongibona njalo 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 uzobona tembala njalo uzobona njalo 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 phelo wami uphethe ngalanga into ongayazi uphethe nyakanya indoni yamanzi lesisiphalaphala noma bemzonda bembeka amabala umenga ngithanda iboye indaba kabayi usuka zami intombi egalakade ave ngikhuluma njalo njalo oh njalo sengizokuthengela umbhayimbayi udubula intaba zangakini khona uzongibona njalo 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 uzongibona njalo uzongibona tembala njalo uzongibona njalo 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 uzobona tembala njalo uzobona njalo 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 Ungqabla sheshe ngizokulobola ngeshile Awuphethize le ntombi emhlophe ushikile Isibhuka bhuka inyama mnandishikini Ngayiqhuba namanje siyekini Phethe umbhayimbayi suka mana badeli Shaya iphelele labafana badeli Ngeke ukiphi ungangijwayezi namashende Funa kikiza la ikhaya kumamatende Otubula Otubula tembala Otubula wabazangakini Otubula Otubula tembala Otubula wabazangakini Sengizokuthengela umbhayimbayi udubula intaba zangakini khona uzongibona njalo 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 uzongibona njalo uzongibona tembala njalo uzongibona njalo 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 uzongibona tembala njalo uzongibona njalo 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 njalo
Hey man, love songs are beautiful in all languages. This is Big Zulu and Sjava in Kabizezwe. That's what they call themselves as a collective. This one is Umbaimbai. It's 11:56 Central Africa time. We are saying goodbye and we will be back tomorrow. Have yourself a fantastic day.
God bless everybody. Have a good one indeed.
Let's play you out with this one. This is Amanda Black, Mina Nawe.
Promise me we wouldn't play no games. We were floating in the clouds, no pain. But it ain't the same when you look at me, honey. When you say my name, when you kiss my lips, buddy. When you